Chapter 159. The upper echelons of the demon-subduing guild were in a heated debate. Should they directly enter the demonic beast forest and obtain supplies from the demonic beasts, or should they send people to Zhanshan City to ask why the first batch of supplies hadn't arrived? These were the two main issues. There were also some neutral parties who wanted to send some people to the surroundings to see if they could find the missing guild leader and find out what had happened on the day of the fire in the camp. Elder Qin, your cultivation is the highest here. Why don't you make a decision? Hua Sanyang cleared her throat and looked at blind Qin with her expressive eyes. Although the relationship between the high-level demon-subduing guild members wasn't good, it was undeniable that no one dared to argue with a big shot like blind Qin. Under such circumstances, blind Qin only needed to say a few words to immediately end the chaos. However, blind Qin clearly didn't have such intentions. Therefore, Hua Sanyang could only take the risk of blind Qin bearing a grudge and forcefully drag him into the water. Hee, guild leader Hua must be joking. This Qin is all alone. It's really inappropriate for me to participate in your discussion. Blind Qin rubbed his chin and said with a smile. However, if you want to talk about my opinion, this Qin actually feels that it's not a good idea to stay here. Everyone has received a mission from the demon-subduing guild. That's why you specially came to hunt that black snake. Our target is only that black snake. The rest of the demonic beasts are just side dishes. We just need to get rid of those who block our way. If we start an all-out war with the Stoneclaw Forest, it won't do us any good. When blind Qin finished speaking, the complexions of several of the demon-subduing group's captains turned ashen. Among them, there were some who belonged to the imperial court. They were only participating in the Black Snake Crusade because they were following orders. The so-called wealth and the life and death of the Black Snake were meaningless to them. What they wanted to do was to incite an all-out war between the demon-subduing guild and the demonic beast royal court in the Hengduan mountain range. After all, although the demonic beasts of the Hengduan mountain range had been running wild for the past few years, the demonic beasts of each region had their own way of doing things. It was impossible for them to pose a particularly serious threat. However, the Demon-Subduing Master Association, which had branches in all 7 dynasties, was different. After all, the Demon Slayer Guild had been fighting demonic beasts all year round. Be it in terms of teamwork or actual combat experience, they were extremely terrifying. As long as they were willing after undergoing a period of professional training, their strength would definitely not be much weaker than those experienced soldiers. Moreover, the Chamber of Commerce and tycoons within the 7 dynasties were basically connected to the Demon Slayer Guild. If the Demon Slayer Guild's president had any thoughts that he shouldn't have, he could replace any of the 7 dynasties at any time. He could even establish a new 8th dynasty independent of the 7 dynasties. Right now, the imperial court of the 7 dynasties were in a difficult position. Firstly, they didn't have an excuse to make a move against the demon-subduing guild. Secondly, they didn't have absolute confidence in their victory. If they made a move first, they would lose their sense of righteousness and the hearts of the people. Therefore, the 7 dynasties had always hoped that this organization, which was originally established to weaken the demonic beast's influence, would really start an all-out war with the demonic beast royal court in the Hengduan mountain range. That way, it would be killing 2 birds with 1 stone, directly weakening 2 hidden dangers that were growing day by day. However, before this, the demon-subduing guild had always maintained a restrained way of doing things. No matter how much the imperial court of the 7 dynasties inflated the price of the demonic beast meat and demonic beast cores, they didn't feel the slightest bit of fluctuation in their hearts. Apart from their own maintenance fees, they didn't even have the slightest desire to make money. This made them feel even more uneasy. Although the Black Snake Crusade, organized by the Demon-Subduing Guild this time, was only to deal with an intelligence perception realm demonic beast king, it was already one of the largest operations of the Demon-Subduing Guild in the past 10 years. The Demon-Subduing Guild that belonged to the imperial court was here to cause trouble. Although the demonic beast royal court didn't put a single black snake in their eyes, if they massacred the entire Stoneclaw Forest in one go, then even if the demonic beast royal court was unwilling, they would have no choice but to take the initiative to declare war on the demon-subduing guild for the sake of their reputation and authority. However, Blind Chin's words were clearly blocking their path. Most of the demon-subduing masters here were here to deal with the black snake. As long as they could take the black snake's head, they would be able to obtain 40% of the Lu clan's wealth. Even if they were to wash their hands of the black snake, they might not be able to spend all their wealth in their lifetime. This was also one of the reasons why the demon-subduing masters from the nearby cities had taken the initiative to come to Mountain Blocking City. Under such circumstances, no lunatic would be stupid enough to massacre the entire Stoneclaw Forest and incur the wrath of the demonic beast royal court. Lai Shan patted his stomach and narrowed his eyes slightly. He said in a deep voice, "Old Qin is right. Our goal in entering the Hengduan mountain range this time is that black snake. Even if the rest of the demonic beasts were added together, they wouldn't be worth as much as the black snake. Why don't we all push forward together? We'll leave as soon as we kill that black snake." Lai Shan's words could be considered watertight. However, while he was speaking, his gaze would sweep past the demon-subduing masters from the imperial family from time to time. He had a threatening look on his face, causing the other party to want to fly into a rage, but they didn't dare to do so. A brute like Lai Shan obviously wouldn't have such a brain. He knew that the imperial family wished for the demon-subduing masters to wage an all-out war with the demonic beast royal court. However, at this moment, Lai Shan and Blind Qin cooperated and reduced the matter from waging war against the Stoneclaw Forest to taking the Lu clan's reward to kill the black snake. This way, even if the demonic beast royal court wanted to make trouble after the black snake was killed, they could still push the Lu clan out as a scapegoat. Obviously, the demon-subduing masters had already seen through the imperial family's plan. Blind Qin and Lai Shan were singing the same tune, putting on a show for them to see. At the same time, they were warning them not to have any ideas. Otherwise, if they were killed and thrown into the demonic beast forest, would the imperial family be able to find out who was the culprit from the pile of demonic beasts' excrement? You're right. The leader of the imperial family's faction was silent for a moment before nodding in agreement. Outsiders didn't know how powerful Blind Qin was, but how could they, who had been watching the demon-subduing masters for a long time, not know? Although Blind Qin was still lingering at the peak of the airborne realm. When one's strength reached such a level, the so-called one step was only one step away. As long as he was willing, he could break through the bottleneck at any time and step into the realm where he could fight against demonic beasts head-on. When that time came, their identities would be useless. In the end, whether they lived or died, it would be up to Blind Qin to decide. Chapter 160. Since that's the case, why don't we split up? A demon slayer with a resentful expression said. He wasn't a member of the royal family, nor was he a direct descendant of the Demon Slayer Guild. He was just an ordinary cultivator who wanted to retire after a few years of work. At the same time, he was one of the demon slayers who had come here. To be honest, an existence like him would definitely be a small fry on this battlefield. Unless an opportunity descended from the heavens and instantly raised his strength to Blind Qin's level, there was no way he could compare to the other big shots in terms of personal strength or the influence of the demon-subduing group. The reason he joined the Black Snake Crusade was to kill the demonic beasts of the Stoneclaw Forest. After all, there weren't many missions where he could obtain all the materials of the demonic beasts after killing them, and even receive an additional reward from the employer. Split up. Is there something wrong with your head? Lai Shan asked with a strange expression. Soon after, he mocked mercilessly. You can't possibly think that you can charge into the Stoneclaw Forest with just a bunch of weaklings like you, right? Even if the demonic beasts in the periphery of the forest can't stop you. Do you think all the high-level demonic beasts in the Stoneclaw Forest are dead? The reason why Beast King-level demonic beasts were hard to kill wasn't just because they were the strongest and wisest existences in their territory. More importantly, every Beast King was surrounded by a large number of demonic beasts. Trying to fight a Beast King against a Beast King was clearly a pipe dream. These weak demon slayers were originally chosen to deal with the Beast King's guards. They seemed like a bunch of dispensable people, but in reality, they played an extremely important role. If not for a big shot like Lai Shan withstanding the pressure of those high-level demonic beasts, they wouldn't even be able to charge into the Stoneclaw Forest. On the other hand, if not for them sharing the firepower of those intelligent perception demonic beasts, Lai Shan and the others wouldn't have been able to kill the black snake. Lai Shan's emotional intelligence was clearly not high. After he finished speaking, the faces of many demon slayers turned ugly. These demon slayers were generally not very strong, and they didn't participate in this mission for the black snake. Even their own opinions weren't important. They could only choose a few representatives to participate in this meeting. As the old saying goes, don't hit someone in the face, and don't expose someone's shortcomings when scolding someone. Lai Shan's words were no different from roasting them on a fire. All right, let's stop arguing. Hua Sanyang sensed that the atmosphere was not right. She cleared her throat and said in a soft voice, "We are all demon slayers who came to fight the black snake. So what if there is a gap in strength? It's not easy for everyone to make a living, so please lend a helping hand. Actually, I don't agree with sticking together, but the situation is already like this. Let's put aside our prejudices and push into the Stoneclaw forest. Let's kill that black snake first. What do you think?" Hua Sanyang was now in an awkward position. It was true that she wanted to drag Blind Qin down with her, but she never would have guessed that Blind Qin was actually one of the Demon Slayer Guild's direct subordinates. The moment he opened his mouth, he had provoked an even sharper conflict. She felt that if this continued, the Demon Slayers would start fighting among themselves before they even saw the black snake. Therefore, she could only step forward once more and clean up this mess. Just like that, the main force of the Demon Slayer Alliance had yet to even see a single demon beast, and yet it was already filled with internal strife. Withstanding the immense pressure of this discord, the main force of the Demon Slayer Alliance once again took firm steps forward. However, the demonic beast forest was clearly not as peaceful as these demon slayers had imagined. From the moment they stepped into the demonic beast forest, the demon slayers had been continuously attacked by all kinds of intelligence realm demonic beasts. Even Blind Qin, who was only a step away from the heaven realm, had suffered greatly. Never in their wildest dreams would they have thought that the incomparably cunning black snake would use threats to force the beast kings around its territory to send out their troops to deal with the demon slayers. Even more unexpected was that the black snake would not even let these demon beasts enter its own territory. Therefore, they could only hurry into the demonic beast forest and quietly wait for the arrival of the Demon Slayer Alliance. Congratulations, host. Mission completed. Fate is too wonderful for words. Mission completion rate, 100%. Mission rating, A+. Mission reward skill draw X1. Ever since he had entered the wisdom realm, the system had been muttering about upgrading itself. However, at that time, Lin Yuan was still in the midst of his battle with the profound ice duck, so the system had not directly upgraded itself. Only now, after Lin Yuan had submitted the mission, did he vaguely feel that the system had undergone some changes. The most obvious change was that the system's broadcast had been completely replaced by an ice-cold electronic voice. There will no longer be a situation where the system assistant announces the broadcast on behalf of the system. In the face of this emotionless prompt method, even if Lin Yuan's speech skill is directly maxed out, he will not be able to learn anything from a shrewdly operating machine related to the system's loopholes. The completion rate of this mission was extremely high. After all, he had killed the profound ice duck and obtained the ice heart fruit. Even the scarlet-eyed mandarin had turned into a purgatory crow after her sister had been devoured by Lin Yuan. After creating a purgatory territory, Lin Yuan had been rewarded with a lot of attribute points and purgatory cores. If Lin Yuan were to evaluate himself, this mission would definitely receive the highest score. However, in the eyes of the system, it was only an A+ grade. After a short period of silence, Lin Yuan suddenly thought that the reason the mission rating was not high might be because the Purgatory Crow had directly destroyed the Scarlet Flame Swamp and blocked Lin Yuan's expansion. After all, although he had not declared his sovereignty, after killing the Scarlet Flame Crocodile King and the Yuanyang siblings, the Scarlet Flame Swamp was such a large territory. Even if the other Beast Kings had any ideas, they would definitely not dare to fight with the limelight of Lin Yuan. With the example of what had happened before, this black snake was truly terrifying. Forget it, let's start the skill draw. Lin Yuan lowered his head and smiled. He did not dwell on the fact that he did not receive an S-grade evaluation, and used his reward. It had actually been a long time since he had last drawn a skill. Although the skills he had were all very powerful, there were simply too few of them. When he was in the spirit awakening realm, these skills were completely enough. However, as an intelligence realm demonic beast, only those 3 skills were somewhat insufficient. It was still a familiar operation. 3 balls of light silently floated in front of Lin Yuan, waiting for Lin Yuan to choose. However, this time, the balls of light were slightly different. One was white, one was green, and one was red. Chapter 161. System. What is the meaning of the color division of the skill light? Logically speaking, it was a basic practice to ask questions when one did not understand. Therefore, Lin Yuan did not even look at the 3 skills and summoned the system assistant, nesting doll. The doll was silent for a moment, as if it was searching for information. After 4 breaths, it slowly said, "As a reward for the host's advancement to wisdom state, when the host draws a skill, the host will be able to see the rarity of the skill. The 7 colors are white, green, blue, purple, pink, gold, and orange." Then what does this red light mean? Lin Yuan tilted his head. He had a feeling that the doll was lying to him. He was no stranger to dividing skills into 7 colors according to their rarity. In the game in his previous life, they liked to use these colors to differentiate the rarity of equipment. Therefore, Lin Yuan was very familiar with this model. However, the doll's introduction did not mention a red skill light, but there was a red light right in front of him. The doll choked on Lin Yuan's words and could only helplessly explain. The red light is not a division of rarity. Skills like this are often things that even the system cannot determine the level of. They often have extremely powerful effects, but they also have very strong side effects. For example, the host's blood sacrifice wishing spell is a red skill. Shocking. Lin Yuan looked at the red light in front of him, and was momentarily at a loss. The blood sacrifice wishing spell was a skill on the level of the law of causality. As long as he offered enough sacrifices, there was nothing that this skill could not do. Even if he wanted the water of the 4 seas to stand up, it would not be a problem. He actually got a second skill like this. Did he have an outburst of snake character? White skill, strangle. As a huge python, your strength is incomparably terrifying. The corresponding attack techniques are your instincts. After learning this skill, your strangle strength will increase. Green skill, force field. You who have mastered extraordinary powers, have begun to use extraordinary powers. Although force fields are not the most powerful of extraordinary powers, they are extremely flexible. As long as you have enough imagination, it can be used in almost any way. For example, cutting, pushing, binding, suppressing. There is no problem. Red skill, appraisal eye, one of the system's standard equipment. It can detect the attributes of all things. Lin Yuan. The karma skill that he had imagined did not appear. The eyes of appraisal was placed there, which made Lin Yuan feel as uncomfortable as if he was being fed feces while walking on the street. The strangulation skill was actually refreshed by him. Wasn't this kind of snake-type innate skill placed here to occupy a position? Lin Yuan directly eliminated the strangle skill. As for the force field skill, it seemed very powerful, but it was still unclear how powerful it actually was. As for the appraisal eye, Lin Yuan always felt that it was a pity to give it up. After all, the system could detect the attributes of items, but it couldn't check the attributes of other living beings or things that didn't belong to Lin Yuan. Moreover, the introduction was a little simple, so Lin Yuan didn't use it often. If the appraisal eye was a skill of another color, Lin Yuan would rather waste a skill draw chance to exchange for it. However, the doll had made it clear that although red skills were powerful, they couldn't be used without limit. This meant that after Lin Yuan exchanged for this skill, it didn't mean that he could detect the awakening of all things as he wished. He had to at least consider if he could afford to pay the price. The first time he used the blood sacrifice wishing spell, it took a full 1/3 of his blood. I suggest that the host exchange for the appraisal eye. The doll's cold voice sounded, taking the initiative to disrupt Lin Yuan's train of thought. It continued, red skills are actually rarer than orange ones. If the host can farm red skills, it's best to exchange for them first. Who knows when they will come in handy? Lin Yuan's big head was full of question marks. Previously, every time he asked for the doll's suggestion, it would either play dumb or remain silent. However, this time, after noticing his hesitation, it took the initiative to suggest that he exchange for the appraisal eye. If there wasn't a trap, Lin Yuan felt that he had wasted almost a year knowing the doll. After all, it wasn't the first time that the system had arranged things for him behind the scenes. Other than the truth, what else could he do? He calmed himself down and exchanged for the appraisal eye skill. Then Lin Yuan took another look at the system's text introduction, and his face instantly darkened. This thing was indeed a trap. Appraisal eye can detect the attributes of all things. This skill has a certain failure rate. The specific failure rate is determined by the difference in strength between the host and the target. The host can use appraisal eye 3 times a day for free. After the 3rd time, the host will have to pay a certain amount of attribute points each time he uses appraisal eye. The amount of attribute points will be determined by the difference in strength between the host and the target. Damn, it's another one that eats attribute points. After Lin Yuan turned the Scarlet Flame Swamp into a leveling ground for attribute points, he realized that even though he was gaining attribute points faster and faster, there were more and more areas where he needed attribute points. The attribute points he gained were not proportional to the attribute points he had to pay on a daily basis. If King believe you again, I'm a dog, Lin Yuan roared in exasperation. The host was a human in his past life and a snake in this life. Theoretically speaking, you have nothing to do with a dog. The doll replied nonchalantly, not taking Lin Yuan's words to heart at all. Its attitude was extremely arrogant, but Lin Yuan couldn't do anything about it. Thinking that it would be a loss if he didn't use it, Lin Yuan threw an appraisal eye at Xia Xiyu in front of him. Suddenly Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes shone brightly. Xia Xiyu was slightly taken aback and instinctively took 2 steps back, as if guarding against Lin Yuan's sudden attack. But in the next moment, the light in Lin Yuan's eyes dissipated. The snake's aura withered, as if someone had hit its heart with a heavy hammer. Skill failed. The emotionless system broadcast sounded, as if it was mocking Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan was speechless. He knew that this skill had a failure rate, but he didn't expect it to be so high. The blood sacrifice wishing skill also had a failure rate, but it could be increased by relying on sacrifices. How could he increase the success rate of appraisal eye? Should he level up desperately? Or should he use appraisal eye first when he encountered a powerful being, and prepare to run if it failed? If he succeeded, he could see if there were any fatal weaknesses in the opponent's attribute panel that he could exploit. What kind of stupid skill was this? Chapter 162. Lin Yuan took a deep breath and adjusted his state of mind so that he wouldn't curse out loud. Then he threw an appraisal eye at Xia Xiyu. Appraisal successful. Check target's attributes. Lin Yuan confirmed with his mind. Soon, Xia Xiyu's panel popped up in front of him. Name: Xia Xiyu. Status: Shadow Walker, Abandoned Realm. 17/20 talents: 1. Shadow Affinity. Has a natural affinity with the shadow element. When using shadow skills, the power is increased by 20%. Can be advanced 0 out of 102. Void Walk. Can perform a short space leap to achieve the effect of teleportation. Can be advanced 81/300 speed, 260 defense, 40 attack, 150 assignable attribute points, 0 martial arts, 1. Shadow Break Diagram 2. Evil Moon Skills 1. Backstab Master 2. Shadow Kill Beginner 3. Vanishing Step, Proficient. Items: Shadow Dagger. Stats unknown. Shadow Cloak. Stats unknown. Lin Yuan. At this moment, Lin Yuan had a lot of curses in his heart. Was his body's talent really that bad? It was fine if his cultivation speed was slow, but the system panel couldn't even compare to his. With a speed of 260 points, Lin Yuan felt that if he hadn't opened his mouth quickly, the other party might have already slashed him 17 or 18 times, although it might not have been able to break through his defense. This Xia Xiyu felt a bit like an assassin model. His speed was probably much higher than a cultivator of the same realm by more than 10 points. His attack value probably didn't reach the standard. The only normal thing was that his defense was as low as 40 points. When fighting against someone of the same realm, even if he was lightly brushed by something, this guy would probably be injured. He couldn't be bothered to look at Xiaowen's model. After all, this guy was the same as Xiaoxiu. Both of them were based on the agility model. The biggest difference was that Xiaowen's speed could barely keep up with Xiaoxiu when he went all out. However, the damage that Xiaowen's arrow dealt was comparable to Xiaoxiu's 3 to 5 slashes. However, this was reality and not a game. One could not do whatever they wanted just because they had high stats. Rumble. Rumble. In the distance, continuous explosions rang out. From time to time, 1 or 2 wisdom perception demonic beasts would reveal their true forms. Their figures were so huge that even the forests and mountains couldn't hide them. Xiaoxiu squinted at Lin Yuan and sneered. It seems that your opponent does not intend to give you a chance to prepare, and directly pushed in. So, Sir Demon Emperor, what can you do at this time? We've already started fighting. Let's get to work. Lin Yuan did not pay attention to Xiaoxiu, but glanced at Su Nan, who was on standby. After giving a few short instructions, Su Nan waved his hand with a solemn expression, and led a group of cultivators from the Association of the Demon Emperor to attack the Stoneclaw Forest. They spread out in all directions. Swift and ferocious figures swept toward the dumbfounded demonic beasts. In an instant, a bloody massacre began. These beast kings didn't expect there to be other humans in the beast forest, so most of the wisdom perception demonic beasts were assigned to the beast forest to snipe the main force of the humans. This led to the scene of the beast king's territories being massacred by members of the Association of the Demon Emperor. After all, no matter how powerful a group of spirit awakening demonic beasts was, without a system like Lin Yuan's, it was impossible for them to fight against human cultivators who were around level 5 of the airborne realm on average. However, at this moment, the demonic beasts who were suddenly attacked were not the only ones who were dumbfounded. The humans were even more dumbfounded. There were at least 1,000 intelligence perception demonic beasts scattered throughout the demonic beast forest. To the main forces of the 7 dynasties, they might only be a bunch of ants that they could crush at any time. However, to the mountain-blocking city's demon subduing association, such a force had clearly exceeded their expectations of the Black Snake faction. The territory of the Red Flame Crocodile King was definitely considered large in the periphery of the Hengduan Mountains. Its territory was 4 times the size of the Stoneclaw Forest, but it could only support less than 200 wisdom perception demonic beasts. For a territory of the Stoneclaw Forest size, it would be considered impressive if it could support about 30 wisdom perception demonic beasts. Not to mention that the Black Snake had been fighting almost all the time since it took over. The older generation experts had all died. Among the 4 major clans, only the Zhuiying, Mendu, and Old Bei were left. However, the Black Snake wouldn't be able to pull out a team of more than 1,000 wisdom perception demonic beasts. Damn it, I gave you face, but you don't want it. Lai Shan's face was gloomy as he forced back a 2nd-level wisdom perception demonic beast. He said in a cold voice, "This Black Snake actually has such a large network. Almost all the nearby beast kings have sent out at least 80% of their demonic beasts to participate in the battle. Could this guy be the illegitimate son of that great demon?" As one of the top demon slayers in the mountain-stopping city, Lai Shan was very familiar with the demonic beast forces in the vicinity of the mountain-stopping city. With just a glance, he saw at least 7 or 8 familiar demonic beasts. Moreover, they all belonged to different beast kings. However, this was nothing. The strangest thing was that he hadn't seen any signs of the wisdom perception demonic beasts of the Stoneclaw Forest participating in the battle. It was as if the surrounding beast kings had spontaneously formed an alliance to keep the demon slayers outside the Stoneclaw Forest. Ba Bootlicker. Lai Shan spat a mouthful of saliva to the side. However, a trace of contemplation flashed through his eyes. When Lai Shan looked in the direction of the Stoneclaw Forest, he already had some thoughts of retreating. After all, not just any random cat or dog could make the nearby beast kings go all out to help. This Black Snake either had a powerful background, or it could bring tangible benefits to the surrounding beast kings. Therefore, these beast kings were fawning over the black snake. However, no matter what the reason was, this black snake wasn't an existence that a mere mountain-stopping city's Demon Slayers Association could provoke. Back then, a three-eyed ape from the Stoneclaw Forest was already able to sweep through the entire mountain-stopping city. One could imagine what would happen to the mountain-stopping city if the surrounding beast kings rebelled. Although the Shenwu dynasty would definitely seek revenge, it had nothing to do with the Demon Slayers Association anymore. After all, they had the title of Demon Slayers, and they usually received a generous salary. During critical moments, even the army could retreat before the beast tide arrived. However, demon slayers like them could only fight to the death. This was a rule that no one dared to break, and it was also the reason why the 7 dynasties couldn't lay their hands on the Demon Slayers Association. The flesh and blood of the Demon Slayers was the last wall of the border city. Sure enough, it's not that easy to take the Liu family's money. Lai Shan shook his head and waved his saber again. However, this time, his target was the direction of mountain-stopping city. After their leader retreated, the members of the Lai Shan Demon Slayers Association didn't think much about it and quickly left the battle as well. Chapter 163. Although Lai Shan was not the kind of person who relied on his brain to make a living, his combat skills were extremely high. He also had an extraordinary talent for foreseeing danger. Therefore, when Lai Shan moved forward, they would move forward as well. And when Lai Shan retreated, they naturally would not run over and court death. He ran away? The few wisdom perception demonic beasts nearby blinked their eyes. They could not understand why Lai Shan would suddenly retreat. However, in the current situation, the human side's high-end combat power was in a more dire situation than the demonic beasts. Now that Lai Shan had retreated from the battlefield, it meant that the humans who were still fighting had become food in their stomachs. Once they finished cleaning up the battlefield, they could go and support their comrades. Obviously, Lai Shan was not the only one who had sensed that something was wrong. The demon slayers who were begging for food near Zhanshan City also chose to retreat from the battlefield before the others could react, allowing the demonic beasts to slaughter their comrades who were still fighting. To be honest, thousands of wisdom perception demonic beasts were not difficult to deal with. With their strength, they might not be able to defeat these demonic beasts in a head-on battle. However, once the battle lines were drawn apart, the human side's experts could form a spearhead team and execute a decapitation tactic to quickly defeat these demonic beasts. It was just that at this moment, they did not do so. The participation of more than 10 beast kings in the nearby battle had already shown the attitude of the Hengduan mountain range. If they were to go against the heavens and kill that black snake, they would incur the wrath of the various beast kings. That was not something they could afford. They retreated just like that? Xiaoen, who was standing on the trunk of a huge tree, was startled. He muttered in disbelief. He had never imagined that the so-called main force would be so weak. After being attacked by the demonic beasts, they immediately gave up the idea of advancing. They gave up on the comrades who were unable to leave the battlefield and decisively retreated from the demonic beast forest. What do you mean they retreated? Xia Siyu turned his head and asked while fiddling with the dagger in his hand. Xiaoen was a natural archer because his innate talent was eagle eyes. When he stood on high ground, he could see everything within 1,000 miles without any obstructions and firmly lock onto them. For an experienced archer, he could kill anything within his sight. The main force of the Demon Slayer Guild. Xiaoen jumped down from the tree with a gloomy face and said, "I thought these pure-blooded humans were something special. Normally, they were so arrogant, but now, after being attacked by a wave of demonic beasts, they were immediately defeated. They didn't even try to save their companions who were fighting a bitter battle. They ran faster than rabbits." Clang! Xia Siyu was so shocked that the dagger in his hand fell to the ground. He didn't expect things to turn out this way. In other words, he had lost the bet with Lin Yuan? Lin Yuan lowered his head and pondered for a while. The main force of the demon slayers had arrived much faster than he had expected. According to his calculations, these demon slayers would at least wait until the next batch of supplies arrived before slowly advancing. But he never would have imagined that these demon slayers would be so bold. They didn't send any scouts to scout out the surrounding terrain before charging forward with full force. It was as though they wanted to end the battle in one go. If he hadn't forced the surrounding beast kings to participate in the battle, he might have lost the Stoneclaw Forest within 2 days. He didn't even know where these demon slayers would have chased him to. In other words, he had almost gone too far. Fortunately, the nearby beast kings were extremely wary of the inferno demonic beasts, so none of them dared to slack off. Almost at the same time they agreed to Lin Yuan's request, they arranged for their demonic beasts to enter the demonic beasts' forest. It must be known that Lin Yuan's demonic beasts had yet to emerge from the Stoneclaw Forest. A bet is a bet. Xia Siyu walked up to Lin Yuan's side and narrowed his eyes. He said with an unhappy expression, "Speak. What do you want us to do for you?" Soon, the humans will organize another counterattack. At that time, no matter how many trump cards they have, they will use them all in one go. I want you to stay by my side. If Blind Qin appears, although the Beast Kings will act to deal with him, they will only be able to heavily injure him. I want you to chase after him and kill him. Lin Yuan was awakened from his contemplation, but his thoughts were still clear. When the Beast Kings realized that their territories had been cleansed by the humans, no matter what they wanted, they would have to send troops to suppress the humans and seek justice for the demonic beasts under their command. Congratulations to the host for completing the large-scale war mission Black Serpent Crusade Phase 1. Confrontation. Received 800 war points. Activated Phase 2. Tug of War. Successful reward. 1,000 war points. Failed reward. 1,000 war points deducted. Lin Yuan looked at the system notification that had just popped up and was momentarily speechless. He had previously said that he had been targeted by the Demon Slayer Guild, which was tantamount to starting a war between the Demon Slayers of Mountain Blocking City and the Stoneclaw Forest demonic beasts. Why didn't the war model have any reaction at all? After the update, the prompts for the start of the war have been cancelled. If you want to know the details, you must open the war template and watch it yourself. If it weren't for the reward prompt that suddenly popped up, Lin Yuan would have really ignored this point. Faction War Model. Name: Black Serpent Crusade Ongoing. Attacking Party: Demon Slayer Guild Mountain Blocking City Branch. Mountain Blocking City's City Lord Residence. Idle Demon Slayer Group. Weak. Defending Party: Beast King Alliance Medium. Evaluation: The prey is escaping. Victory Reward: 500 war points. Failure Punishment: 500 war points. War Mission. Tug of War Description: The Demon Slayer Alliance has suffered a loss at your hands. However, the humans are not willing to give up just like that. The war is still ongoing. Please maintain the fragile relationship between you and your allies and continue to fight against the Demon Slayers. During the mission phase, the host will be rewarded with war points according to the difference in strength between the Demon Slayers and the Demon Slayers. Lin Jiofeng glanced at the war template. It had not changed much from before, but after the system update, there was an additional war mission template. Lin Jiofeng did not tell Lin Yuan what to do when and what to do. He served as a military counselor and gave Lin Yuan advice. He only gave him a big goal to complete. However, after each stage of the war mission was completed, Lin Jiofeng could earn an additional sum of war points. Of course, Lin Yuan wasn't so naive as to think that the system had a conscience for once. He had already figured out the nature of this dog system. It would always come up with something that you thought was profitable, but was actually a scam. Chapter 164. Although this newly added war mission had additional rewards, if the mission failed, Lin Yuan's war points would be deducted. If the war points were not enough, Lin Yuan's attribute points would be deducted. For example, this second phase of the mission, after completing it, there would be a reward of 1,000 war points. For this phase of the war, this reward could be said to be considerable. After all, winning this war would only reward 500 war points. Completing the second phase of the mission would directly reward him with 1,000 points. Then what if the mission failed? Even if he won this war, the 500 war points he obtained would not be enough to pay for the failure penalty. Although in theory with a tug of war as the main goal, There was no possibility of failure, but this was the nature of the system. Who knew what the next war mission would be? In any case, Lin Yuan felt that this system had not given him anything related to the world of the living. I understand. When you need me, crush this silver coin and I will rush over. Xia Xiyu bowed towards Lin Yuan. With a flip of his right hand, he threw a silver coin to Na Qin, who was standing to the side. Na Qin received the silver coin from Xia Xiyu and lightly nodded. He did not dare to interrupt the conversation between the big shots. This silver coin is... Lin Yuan's heterochromatic pupils suddenly shrank, and he subconsciously asked. When the silver coin was thrown, he had already carefully observed it with his terrifying dynamic vision. On the obverse, there was a human head pierced by a dagger. The face was somewhat similar to the appearance of a European in his previous life. On the reverse, there was a rose entangled in thorns, blooming in a flirtatious manner. Ravenfield silver coin, an entrance ticket to the Assassin's Manor. It's just a small toy. Every month I can go to the Assassin's Manor to receive one. After crushing it, I will sense it. Xia Xiyu smiled. He finally won back some ground in front of this black snake. After all, no matter how powerful a demon beast was, it was still far inferior to humans in some aspects. Although it was just a small toy, he could see the deep shock in Lin Yuan's eyes. However, he completely did not expect that Lin Yuan's shock was because he had seen this silver coin in his previous life. The shape and name were exactly the same. This couldn't be a coincidence, right? Thinking about the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas, Lin Yuan felt that all of this was enough to prove that this world was related to the world of his previous life. In other words, one day he might really be able to return to his previous world. Can you introduce me to the leader of the Assassin Manor? Lin Yuan's gaze landed on Xia Xiyu. Xia Xiyu shrugged and said helplessly, Big brother, the leader of the Assassin Manor? That man is already a legendary figure. Even if he were still alive, he's not someone that a puny airborne realm assassin like me would be able to meet. At this point, Xia Xiyu paused and looked at Lin Yuan strangely. He asked in confusion, But why do you want to see the leader of the Assassin's Manor? Although the Assassin's Manor doesn't have any stance, as long as there are benefits, they can accept any kind of transaction. But you are just a demonic beast. Xia Xiyu didn't finish his sentence. Even assassins who walked in the dark didn't have a good impression of demonic beasts, especially in a place like the Assassin Manor where crooks mixed in with the honest folk. With Lin Yuan's current strength, if he went to the Assassin Manor, he could be turned into snake soup at any time by the assassins who went there to pick up or submit missions. Then forget about it. Lin Yuan shook his head, as a hint of vague disappointment flashed in his heterochromatic eyes. Xia Xiyu sensed Lin Yuan's disappointment, but as a professional assassin, he knew very well that there were some things that wouldn't be beneficial to him if he knew too much. Just like the black snake in front of him, who claimed to be the demon emperor, there were too many secrets that he couldn't see through. If it wasn't for the fact that his strength was too weak, he would even suspect that this black snake was also a legendary existence. Okay, then I'll take my leave first. Xia Xiyu stretched his muscles and looked around, and said with a resentful expression, staying next to a black snake that was like a fog, he was already under a lot of pressure. Not to mention that there were many demonic beasts and members of the Association of the Demon Emperor. All of them were eyeing him covetously. Xia Xiyu didn't doubt that as long as he showed the slightest bit of hostility, these fellows would swarm him. The demon slayers had all retreated from the demonic beast forest, and the demonic beasts that were chasing after them also stopped in time. However, from time to time, they would turn back to look at the demon slayers who had just survived the calamity. However, the rules of the demonic beast royal court were very clear. Once they left the Hengduan mountain range, they would no longer be under the protection of the demonic beast royal court. Even if they were killed the moment they stepped out of the demonic beast forest, they deserved it. No demonic beast would stand up for them. In the past, when the demonic beast tide attacked the human cities, almost none of them had returned alive. After the demonic beasts confirmed that the humans had no intention of entering the demonic beast forest, they could only let out a series of roars from their throats and retreat to their respective territories. 2 hours later, the mournful roars of the demonic beasts joined together, and echoed throughout the entire Hungduan mountain range. Just as they were fighting with the humans, another group of human cultivators invaded their territories and began a frenzied massacre of their clansmen and descendants. The more severe ones were even left alone. The small clans were directly slaughtered by the humans, and the various spiritual items hidden in their lairs were also plundered. The demonic beasts that had yet to return to their lairs saw the demonic beasts that had fought alongside them end up in such a state. Their hearts sank. While they felt pity, they also secretly prayed that their clans hadn't been slaughtered by those crazy humans. However, what awaited them was the merciless and cruel reality. In the next hour, outside the lairs of the various demonic beast kings, there were many wisdom realm demonic beasts with bloodshot eyes. Although none of the demonic beasts opened their mouths, the invisible pressure they exuded filled the air with an austere aura. An invisible pressure slowly enveloped the bodies of the demonic beast kings. After all, these demonic beasts were all sent out by them. During this period of time, the demonic beast kings that hadn't participated in the battle had failed to protect their clans. This was clearly unjustifiable. Furthermore, these demonic beast kings didn't know how to explain themselves. They weren't even in their territories before, but had been sent by Old Bay's Frost Wolf to the Crimson Flame Crocodile King's treasury to pick the spiritual items as a reward. Therefore, when the humans started the massacre, they didn't make a move in time. Chapter 165. The Beast Kings were in an extremely bad mood after the Beast Kings under their rule were massacred. This was because not only did they need to give an explanation to the demonic beasts under them, they also needed to give an explanation to the demonic beast palace. Their territories weren't that big, and they might not even be as big as the territory of a certain mountain lord demonic beast in the depths of the Hungduan mountain range. However, they were still part of the Hungduan mountain range's ecological chain. Once this balance was broken, many places would be affected. This was also the reason why when the Beast King was replaced, only a few demonic beast clans would fight for the position of Beast King. The other demonic beasts would temporarily leave their territories. After a long period of silence, a Beast King finally walked out of his lair with heavy footsteps. His cold gaze swept across the faces of the demonic beasts that had gathered here. He gritted his teeth and said, "Everyone, this is not the first time that humans have started a war for no reason. If we don't make those humans pay the price this time, something like this will definitely not happen just once. Kill them all. Let them be afraid. Let them pay the price." The beast kings that had gathered roared one after another, their eyes red as they roared in anger. The more powerful a clan was, the better their territory would be. Therefore, the truly powerful demonic beast clans did not suffer heavy losses. At most, a few of their hunting teams were killed. However, the demonic beast clans near the periphery were almost completely annihilated. Only a few lucky ones managed to escape the calamity. These beast kings weren't very strong, and didn't have much intelligence. After the humans carried out such a tragic massacre, they even had thoughts of killing their way out of the beast forest. Seeing that the beast kings couldn't take this lying down, these beast kings became more and more energetic. With a leader, the rest of the matters were much simpler. Groups of demonic beasts of the wisdom realm slowly left the territory with heavy footsteps that resembled the beat of a drum. At this moment, Lin Yuan, who was entrenched in the demonic beast forest, raised his eyelids and listened to the deafening roars of the beasts behind him as well as the heavy footsteps. He couldn't help but smile. After all, he was a beast king with an unstable foundation. Once the flames of purgatory in the Scarlet Flame Swamp were extinguished, it would still be a problem whether or not he could protect the Scarlet Flame Swamp. Therefore, none of the demon beasts would have thought that the humans who were slaughtering their clansmen were all his subordinates. Endless rage would only be vented on those innocent humans. While they are still gathering, inform the brothers of the Demon Thearchas Association to withdraw from the demonic beast forest. After this, I will give them another batch of spirit items as a reward. Oh, that's right. After leaving the demonic beast forest, don't stay any longer. I reckon that their fury right now isn't something that can be extinguished by the blood of tens of thousands of humans. I reckon that Mountain Rampart City isn't safe either. Therefore, all of you should quickly leave Mountain Rampart City's sphere of influence. The further, the better. Lin Yuan warned Sunan. Sunan nodded and didn't say anything else. He immediately made a few hand gestures. The members of the Demon Thearchas Association who had regrouped immediately followed behind him and headed out of the demonic beast forest. The purple-eyed youth didn't leave. Instead, he rubbed his head and said in a deep voice, "Don't cause trouble. After all, I'm still the next city lord of Mountain Rampart City. If you leave me with a dead city and ruins, how do you expect me to explain it to the higher-ups?" Lin Yuan let out a soft cry of surprise and asked with a smile, "What does this matter have to do with you? Shouldn't you still be on the way to your new position? Before you hand over the city lord, all the responsibilities have nothing to do with you. Let's not talk about whether these demon beasts can break through Mountain Rampart City. Even if they can, won't you have an excuse to find the higher-ups to mobilize a large number of professional soldiers and nearby refugees to rebuild Mountain Rampart City? At that time, you will be a hero and a meritorious subject. Later on, I can even borrow your hand to sweep away some of the surrounding obstacles for me." I. The purple-eyed youth stuttered for a long time and couldn't utter a complete sentence. After a long while he rolled his eyes and said, "You're more shameless than I thought." The onlooker sees the game more clearly than the player involved. As the soon-to-be city lord of Mountain Rampart City, the purple-eyed youth's first reaction was that if Mountain Rampart City was destroyed, he might have to be transferred to another border city to take up the position. There might not be a righteous beast king like the Black Serpent in that godforsaken place. More importantly, that would mean that all the secret plans he had set up in Mountain Rampart City would all go down the drain with the destruction of Mountain Rampart City. However, after listening to the Black Serpent's words, he suddenly felt that the situation was still the same as before. However, the outcome was completely different from what he had previously thought. As for Dynasty giving up on Mountain Rampart City, that was just wishful thinking. After so many years of development, the current population of the 7 great dynasties had already exceeded the upper limit of the territory's support. That was why there was constant friction between various parties. Firstly, it was to fight for territory. Secondly, it was to reduce the population. Not to mention that Mountain Rampart City was close to the Hengduan mountain range, a place that could continuously provide the dynasty with monster materials and spiritual items. If the emperor were to give up on this city, the Xinwu dynasty would not be far from destruction. Rebuilding Mountain Rampart City was something that would happen sooner or later. The forces behind him only needed to step forward and deal with it, and this difficult task would fall directly on him. The most important thing was the Black Serpent's existence. If other people were to rebuild Mountain Rampart City here, they would definitely be viewed with hostility by the Monster King Court. They would also be attacked by an endless stream of monsters. It would be very difficult for them to withstand the huge pressure and complete the task. Usually, only those who did not have any connections and were not liked would be assigned such a task by the dynasty. However, with the Black Serpent's existence, he would not have such worries at all. As long as the Black Serpent could occupy the position of the strongest beast king in this area, they could completely complement each other. As for the Black Serpent, would it bring huge trouble to the dynasty when it grew up? Who cared? After all, he was not the emperor. Even if the emperor wanted to choose a successor, it would definitely not fall on him. If he wanted to climb up, it would only be possible if he connected with the Black Serpent. Then you better take it easy. The purple-eyed youth's expression became much better. However, he still reminded, "Try to preserve the buildings of Mountain Rampart City. I don't want to start from scratch. Who knows how long it would take me to rebuild Mountain Rampart City from a pile of ruins. I'll try my best." Lin Yuan held back his laughter and replied. He was not being perfunctory with his words. It was purely because he did not have enough face to stop a group of enraged monsters from venting their anger on humans with just a few words. Chapter 166. If it was an ordinary beast tide, the beast kings might still give him some face. However, this beast tide wasn't as simple as it seemed. The beast tide was led by the beast kings, with the intelligence enlightening demonic beasts as the backbone. There would definitely be countless spirit-awakening demonic beasts joining the battle. A beast tide of this scale wasn't something that the cities near the Hengduan mountain range would experience every year. It could be considered as a calamity. The entire Zhongshan city wouldn't be enough to deal with these demonic beasts, and the cities in the vicinity would also be affected. Unless the humans had a Heaven Star border realm expert or above, or if the demonic beast royal court ordered the demonic beasts to stop taking revenge on the humans, it could be said that the humans were in a terrible situation and blood flowed like a river. Throughout the establishment of the 7 great empires, after the demonic beasts were forced into the Hengduan mountain range to struggle at death's door, a beast tide of this scale had never happened before. It wasn't just the 7 great empires that weren't willing to destroy the demonic beast royal court in the Hengduan mountain range. They wanted to use the demonic beasts to restrict the other empires, but the demonic beast royal court wasn't willing to start a war with the humans. Even if the demonic beasts in the Hengduan mountain range came out in full force, they could go against any empires or even destroy them. However, the friction between the demonic beasts and humans was completely different from the battle between the demonic beasts and humans. Humans had spent countless years to break away from the demonic beasts' rule. They went from food and slaves to the current masters of the Tianwu continent. They didn't want the demonic beasts to be above them again. Therefore, if the demonic beast royal court were to start a war with the humans, they would have to face the attacks of the 7 great empires. As for the 4 Seas Dragon Palace, they were also a demonic beast faction. They definitely didn't want to get into trouble. After all, their territory was an environment where humans couldn't survive. Therefore, there wasn't much friction between the 2 sides. Na Qin, go back and inform them to participate in this beast tide. Lin Yuan opened his mouth wide and instructed Na Qin. The Stoneclaw Forest naturally wasn't attacked by the Demonic Emperor Association's members. This matter could actually be covered up. After all, the other demonic beasts had sent out their top fighting forces. Lin Yuan's subordinates setting up defenses in the Stoneclaw Forest to guard against the humans' attack might not be reasonable, but it was absolutely reasonable. However, it would be a different matter if Lin Yuan didn't participate in such a large-scale beast horde. After all, these beast kings were only attacked because they were trying to help him defend against the humans' attack. If he didn't help these monster beasts take revenge, not only would he end up with an unsociable image, if the monster beast palace were to pursue the matter, he wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. After all, after the purple-eyed youth rebuilt Zhongshan City, his cooperation with the humans was definitely something that could not be hidden. Although monster beasts were not as calculative as humans, it did not mean that they were stupid. They only needed to think a little bit to guess that he was behind the sudden attack on the territories of the various monster kings today. Not to mention, Lin Yuan's reputation in the monster beast palace was probably not very good. Ignoring the fact that you had offended a large group of monster beasts, just the fact that the Green Swamp clan, which had 3 desolate monster realm experts, had suffered such a huge loss at his hands, they would definitely not let this matter go. Even if it was inconvenient for the Green Swamp clan to make a move against him due to the existence of the Lord. If such a thing were to happen, the Green Swamp clan would definitely hit him while he was down in the Monster Beast Palace. Although at that time, Lin Yuan may already have the strength to fight against the Monster King court. At least he can ensure that he can sit firmly in the position of the Monster King in the periphery of the Hengduan Mountains, but who would dislike having less trouble? Call them all over or... Na Qin blinked his large eyes and asked in a somewhat dazed manner. He was not used to the Monster King's sudden change. After all, although the Black Snake was vicious and merciless, it was definitely a domineering Monster King. Na Qin admired Lin Yuan's courage and strength for daring to challenge a Wisdom Realm monster beast when he was only at the 10th level of the Spirit Awakening Realm. However, at this moment, the Black Snake, in this storm that could directly destroy the Stoneclaw Forest, was able to repel the humans' main force without even moving. It was even able to chat and laugh with a few cunning humans. After all of this, in Na Qin's eyes, Lin Yuan was immediately portrayed as a wise man that was not inferior to the 3-eyed ape. Even if his methods were not as glorious, and could even be called despicable and lowly, However, following this monster king, the Stoneclaw Forest's future was truly promising. Even though Lin Yuan had been in a state of war since he took office, Lin Yuan was an existence that all the monster beasts were convinced of. Otherwise, no matter how iron-headed the Stoneclaw clan was, they would not have supported Lin Yuan, a monster king that only knew how to use military force. How could I call all of them here? Just a small gesture is enough. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed with wisdom as he sneered. You have to know that these monster kings will help us resist the humans' attack, not because everyone is united and loves each other, but because in their eyes, we are nothing more than shields. I think that as long as we participate, it will be fine. After all, our own brothers still have to resist the attack of the Inferno beasts, right? Yes, as time passed, Lin Yuan gradually understood the reason why these monster kings were so angry. It was not only because the monster beasts in their territory had been massacred, but also because these monster kings believed that the humans' repeated attacks on the Hengduan mountain range were aimed at the Stoneclaw Forest or the Black Snake. The Inferno beasts' attacks were also aimed at the Stoneclaw Forest. Therefore, in their eyes, Lin Yuan was the position of a meat shield. Under these preconditions, these monster kings were exceptionally angry after their territory was attacked by the humans. First, it was because they felt betrayed by the humans. Second, it was because the humans' attack on the Hengduan mountain range was no longer aimed at the Black Snake. However, as Lin Yuan grew stronger, his aura gradually made the Inferno beasts feel afraid. Not all Inferno beasts were iron-headed. Even if they did not have intelligence, they were still a type of living creature. It was their instinct to seek advantages and avoid disadvantages. Therefore, during this period of time, the number of Inferno beasts attacking the Stoneclaw Forest had decreased. On the other side, the monster kings were badly battered, but there was nothing they could do. There were even a few territories that had been destroyed by the Inferno beasts. If not for this, the nearby monster kings would not have agreed to help so easily. They did not even need Lin Yuan's urging, and the monster beasts under their command would have rushed to the monster beast forest to attack the humans' main forces. They were now afraid that Lin Yuan would not be able to resist the Inferno beasts. Chapter 167. Two flowers bloomed. Two flowers bloomed. The humans who had retreated from the demonic beast forest returned to the campsite that they had set up previously with ashen faces. Every single one of them was covered in blood and flesh, and their auras were also dispirited. Only a few experts like Blind Qin and Lai Shan looked calm and unruffled in the midst of chaos. These humans who had sensed that something was amiss all rushed back to the camp at the same time. When they saw the looks of relief on each other's faces, they could not help but laugh awkwardly. Even if they were a group of demon slayers who lived for their own benefits, betraying their companions was definitely not something to be proud of. Lai Shan placed his thick saber on the ground and looked around at the demon slayers who had rushed back in batches. He could not help but reveal a cold smile on his face. Almost none of the demon slayers from the other cities had returned. Only a few of the smarter ones had retreated with their main forces. Apart from that, the demon slayers from the dynasty, who were bent on inciting a war between the demonic beasts and the Demon Slayers Association, had not retreated either. However, they had indeed retreated to the front lines together. No one knew where they had gone. Are they really going to stir up trouble? Lai Shan rubbed his forehead and muttered with a gloomy face. As a reputable demon slayer of Mountain Rampart City, he did not have any missions to slay demons in other cities. Therefore, it was naturally impossible for him to leave Mountain Rampart City. If those fellows really infuriated the Beast Kings in the periphery of the Hengduan mountain range, and the Beast Horde attacked Mountain Rampart City again, he would not be able to escape again. Before Lai Shan could think further, a series of footsteps that sounded like the beating of a drum resounded in his ears. Those demonic beasts, they had actually chased after them? Lai Shan's face turned even gloomier. However, he was slightly puzzled in his heart. If those demonic beasts really wanted to fight to the death with them, a group of them would have bitten them to death when they abandoned their companions and tried to keep them in the demonic beast forest. Although they would not be completely wiped out, they definitely would not be able to escape from the demonic beast forest unscathed. Since they had let them go before, Why would they chase after them now? Lai Shan rushed up to the wooden watchtower at an extremely fast speed. Looking at the black mass of demonic beasts in front of him, his face immediately revealed a frightened expression. He blurted out, F***CK. This was no longer as simple as a beast tide. Even if the black snake, white deer, King Kong and cold pool crane, the four most dangerous beast kings, did not appear, the rest of the beast kings were all in the charging formation. With just a glance, he saw at least 6 beast kings. The wisdom and lightning realm demon beasts might not have come out in full force, but there were definitely more of them than the demon beasts they had encountered in the forest. There were even more spirit awakening realm demon beasts in the beast tide, and even he felt his scalp tingle at the sight of them. As for wild beasts, sorry, I don't even have one. With such a terrifying beast tide coming out of the mountains, those wild beasts would feel their limbs go soft just by smelling the scent of demonic beasts. If they were lucky, they could still hide in their nests. If they were unlucky, they would probably meet the beast tide on the way and be trampled into a pile of meat paste. What happened? Hua Sanyang, who had rushed over, frowned and asked with a pale face. I've poked a hornet's nest. Lai Shan grumpily retorted. Hua Sanyang had a lot of bootlickers, but Lai Shan was not one of them. Lai Shan only hoped that this woman with a hot body would die soon. After all, Hua Sanyang had stolen a lot of his business, and even pulled away many of his demon-subduing masters. Therefore, the relationship between the two sides was extremely bad. At this critical moment, Hua Sanyang did not want to bicker with Lai Shan. However, when Lai Shan spoke, she quickly realized something. Those demon-subduing masters who had not retreated to the camp must have done something terrible. They had actually angered so many beast kings and forced them to rush out of the beast king court sphere of influence. Should we run? Hua Sanyang swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and the mountain in front of her trembled. Cerebral palsy. Lai Shan rolled his eyes and cursed. He roared. Organize the men and defend. While you're at it, release the signal flare and wait for the mountain-blocking city's army to come and support us. If it was an ordinary person, their first reaction after seeing such a large scale of beast tide would be to run. However, as a veteran demon-subduing master, Lai Shan knew very well that the demonic beasts had extremely strong physiques. It would take at least 5 days of continuous travel to reach mountain-blocking city from here. This kind of high-intensity exercise was not suitable for most humans. Whether it was endurance or speed, demonic beasts were superior to humans of the same level. Unless there was a group of people willing to cover the rear, otherwise if everyone ran together, the only result was that they would be caught by the demonic beasts and killed one by one. Moreover, when the mountain-blocking city's city guards saw such a large scale of beast tide, they might not open the city gates for these exhausted demon-subduing masters. The only way to survive now was to release the signal flare to inform mountain-blocking city of the beast tide. Then mountain-blocking city would light the beacon and summon the army of the nearby cities to come and help. If they could hold on until then, they might be able to hold on until the rescue team arrived. However, it might take a little longer, at least half a month. Although it was a little difficult, it was not impossible with the fortifications here. The key was that these demonic beasts were made of flesh and blood. After the initial anger subsided, they would also be afraid of death. Is that the white deer and the cold pool crane? Suddenly, Hua Sanyang's voice interrupted Lai Shan's thoughts. Lai Shan suddenly raised his head and looked at the back of the beast tide. A giant deer with snow-white fur and a one-legged crane with bluish-black fur stood proudly at the back of the beast horde. They coldly sized up the demon slayer who was guarding the wooden and stone camp, as if they were sizing up a bunch of dead people. It's over. Lai Shan staggered. He felt as if the whole world was spinning. The white deer and the cold pool crane had already appeared. Would the black snake and the King Kong be far behind? These 4 beast kings were not on the same level as ordinary beast kings. The appearance of any one of them could cause them to fall into a bitter battle. If 2 of them appeared, they might not be able to hold on until the rescue team arrived. If all 4 of them came, they would be as good as dead. Lai Shan narrowed his eyes slightly. Without saying a word, he picked up the thick-backed machete in his hand and left the watchtower. If he ran away before the other demon-subduing masters could react, his chances of survival would be higher. Chapter 168. By the time Lin Yuan arrived at the human camp, the two sides had already begun fighting. The wisdom and lightning demonic beasts charged forward, followed by the spirit-awakening demonic beasts. The corpses of both demonic beasts and humans piled up into a small mountain outside the camp. The walls made of wood and stone were dyed dark brown by the blood of both sides. How tragic! Lin Yuan glanced at the tragic battlefield and couldn't help but look to the side. In his previous life he was born in a peaceful society. Even though he had seen a lot of darkness and blood, he had never been to a battlefield. After all, he was fortunate to be born in a powerful and protective country. Even if the outside world was filled with bloodshed, there would still be people who would carry the burden for him. Although he was living in a jungle where the strong preyed on the weak, hunting and war were two different concepts. Beast King, should we go as well? A dark green scorpion asked with a weak tone. Logically speaking, they weren't attacked by the Association of Demon Emperors, so they didn't hate the humans. If they had to bite the bullet and fight to the death with the humans, they clearly wouldn't be willing. Moreover, the battlefield in front of them was like a giant meat grinder. Even a second-level wisdom and lightning demonic beast would be instantly killed by the humans if they approached the wooden wall, let alone a first-level wisdom and lightning demonic beast like it. However, it had no choice but to come. After all, it was Lin Yuan who personally gave the order, and Lin Yuan himself had also come to the battlefield. Aside from a few limited spirit-awakening demonic beasts, almost all of the demonic beasts that came from the Scarlet Flame Swamp were wisdom and lightning demonic beasts that came from the Scarlet Flame Swamp. Only the four great clans sent a few old demonic beasts that were nearing the end of their lifespans. Although Lin Yuan didn't have any intention of targeting them, it was Na Qin who went back to call the demonic beasts. Almost all of the demonic beasts that were born in the Stoneclaw Forest knew Na Qin, so the two sides could still communicate. Na Qin fully displayed the spirit of protecting its own. Even the other three great clans that had old grudges with it turned a blind eye. Only the demonic beasts that came from the Scarlet Flame Swamp joined the battle. It didn't have any intention of lifting its hand. Since we're already here, what can we do if we don't go up? Lin Yuan glanced at Scorpion and said coldly, "Of course, if you're not afraid of being torn apart by other demonic beasts, you can also choose to slack off. I won't stand up for you." In this kind of battlefield, it was understandable to slack off and play dead. After all, not all demonic beasts viewed death as a homecoming. It was just that it was one thing to do this secretly, but it was another thing to be seen through. If other demonic beasts caught you in the act, they might even tear you to shreds. Whoa, Black Snake, I didn't expect you to come too. The Handan crane at the back of the group slowly walked to Lin Yuan's side. It looked at the cold-faced Lin Yuan and said in a mocking tone, "I heard that you dared to challenge an intelligence enlightenment realm beast when you were only at the 10th level of the spirit awakening realm. If it wasn't for the fact that you were already the king of the Stoneclaw Forest, I would have liked you to work for me." When the same words were said to different people, they often had different meanings. If Lin Yuan was only a normal intelligence enlightenment realm beast, then the Handan crane's words would be too kind. However, as a king of the Hengduan Mountains, the Handan crane used this kind of tone to talk to Lin Yuan. It was directly suppressing Lin Yuan. It felt that this black snake was not worthy of being called a king of the Hengduan Mountains, and that Lin Yuan was only qualified to be its subordinate. Bai Lu and King Kong, who had just arrived, also looked over. Although they didn't directly slap Lin Yuan's face like the Handan crane, their cold eyes didn't show any kindness. After all, they hadn't directly started a war with the humans. If it wasn't for this black snake threatening them with the purgatory beasts, their territory wouldn't have been attacked by the humans. They also wouldn't have run out of the demonic beast forest to fight the humans while risking being chased by the demonic beast palace. I say, aren't you tired of standing on one leg? Lin Yuan raised his eyelids and said in a stiff tone, "Oh right, I almost forgot. I heard that you provoked the three-eyed ape senior, and had one of your legs torn off. Since then, you haven't taken half a step into the Stoneclaw Forest, right?" When you hit someone, don't hit their face. When you scold someone, don't expose their shortcomings. Lin Yuan just had to do the opposite. The Handan crane insisted on looking for trouble, so Lin Yuan directly used the Handan crane's most embarrassing incident back then. The cold pool crane was also one of the most outstanding demonic beasts in the Stoneclaw forest. However, it was very unfortunate that it was born in the same era as a mountain-shaking ape that had awakened into a three-eyed ape. Therefore, during the battle for the position of Beast King, the cold pool crane was pressed to the ground by the three-eyed ape and ruthlessly rubbed against it. Furthermore, one of its legs was forcibly torn off. However, the Handan crane could be considered a wolf. After losing to the three-eyed ape, it decisively led its tribe out of the Stoneclaw forest and settled in its current territory. After 2 years of recuperation, it successfully killed the old demonic beast king and turned the territory under its rule into a dangerous place where demonic beasts below the wisdom realm didn't dare to enter. Even if demon-subduing masters ventured into the Hungduan Mountains to hunt, they would often choose to avoid the Handan crane's territory. You motherf ***. Sure enough, after being exposed by Lin Yuan, the Handan crane's eyes instantly turned blood red. Its aura suddenly exploded as if it was going to tear Lin Yuan to shreds in the next second. When I was in the Spirit Awakening realm, I dared to challenge a Wisdom realm demonic beast. Old thing, take a guess. Now that I'm in the second level of the Wisdom realm, do you think I'll put you in my eyes? Lin Yuan didn't move in the face of the Handan crane's aura. There was even a hint of disdain in his eyes. The Handan crane was in the 4th level of the Wisdom realm, and its stats were 100 points higher than Lin Yuan's. If they really fought, Lin Yuan might not be a match for the Handan crane. However, Lin Yuan dared to be so arrogant because he was sure that Bai Lu and King Kong wouldn't allow the Handan crane to attack him. After all, the most important thing right now was to fight against the humans. Moreover, if he died, who would help them stop the inferno beasts from the Scarlet Flame Swamp? To put it bluntly, if the Stoneclaw Forest Beast King changed, everyone would have a hard time. Thus, no matter how arrogant Lin Yuan's attitude was, as long as the inferno beasts were hanging over everyone's heads, Lin Yuan would have a golden ticket to avoid death. Handan crane, calm down. Our opponent is a human, not a comrade. Bai Lu calmly stood between Lin Yuan and the Handan crane. His aura slowly spread out, and his eyes gradually turned cold. Chapter 169. King Kong, who had been silent all this time, suddenly raised his head and stared at the human camp with burning eyes. His voice exploded like a hive. Something's wrong. Although these humans are resisting very tenaciously, so far, I haven't even seen a single human powerhouse. Hearing this, Lin Yuan, Bai Lu, and Han Tanha restrained their momentum at the same time, and turned their eyes to the camp, which was like a small boat in a storm. It was as if the camp would be destroyed in the next second, and the demon slayers hiding inside would die tragically under the claws and teeth of the demonic beasts. However, this was just a feeling. These demon slayers put up a strong resistance, repelling the attacks of the demonic beasts time and time again. Almost every second, hundreds of demon slayers and demonic beasts would die on the battlefield. The demonic beast horde was still a beast horde, taking advantage of every opportunity to attack. However, the humans were very clear that if they relaxed for even a moment, they would all die. Therefore, whenever a demon slayer fell, another demon slayer would immediately take his place. Could they be plotting something? Bai Lu raised the corner of his eye and said slowly, "These humans aren't good at fighting us demonic beasts head-on. Every demonic beast would need 2 or 3 humans of the same cultivation level to kill them. However, they still haven't lost their fighting spirit. Perhaps they still have other tricks up their sleeves?" Lin Yuan didn't say anything, but sneered in his heart. Plotting something? In the face of absolute strength, all plots and tricks were useless. These humans were just fighting with their backs to the river. They would die fighting the demonic beasts, and when the demonic beasts broke through the camp, they would also die. If that was the case, they might as well drag a few demonic beasts down to hell with them. These humans are extremely cunning. Their experts haven't made a move yet. It's very likely that they're hiding in the camp, waiting for us Beast Kings to enter. Then they'll join forces and quickly kill a few beast kings to intimidate the other demonic beasts. Han Dan he shifted his cold gaze away from Lin Yuan and said seriously. Lin Yuan raised his eyebrows and said in a low voice, "Haha. Have you become stupid from fighting with other demonic beasts? If the humans were as intelligent as you, why would we demonic beasts be struggling at death's door in the Hengduan mountain range? What if we don't want to fight the humans ourselves? Do you think they can hide until all the demon slayers are dead?" Han Dan he was so angry that he glared at Lin Yuan again. It couldn't understand why this fellow dared to provoke it. Did it really think that with the white deer protecting it, it wouldn't dare to kill it? Bai Lu gave Lin Yuan a meaningful look. During this period of time, it had investigated Lin Yuan. Apart from hunting, all of the demonic beasts that had died under Lin Yuan's hands had taken the initiative to provoke it. Even that pair of siblings who had mysteriously disappeared after entering the Scarlet Flame Swamp. Bai Lu reckoned that it was because the two sides couldn't divide the spoils equally, which led to the conflict. Right now, the cold pool crane had struck the black snake in anger because of its enmity with the three-eyed ape. It was obvious that the snake had a grudge against it. After this matter, the black snake would probably lie dormant for a period of time. Then it would wage war against the cold pool crane. Thinking of this, Bai Lu looked at the Han Dan crane as if he was looking at a corpse. It was an enemy of the black snake. It seemed like no one had ever met a good end. "Black Snake Beast King, what do you mean?" Bai Lu used his hooves to dig the ground. He forcefully suppressed the uneasiness in his heart and took the initiative to ask. After all, this matter had already blown up. More than 10 beast kings of the Hengduan Mountains had joined forces to form a beast tide to attack the human territory. It was almost equivalent to declaring war. If the demonic beast palace couldn't withstand the pressure, they would all be sold. Therefore, they had to kill all the humans and then quietly return to the Hengduan Mountains. They had to order all the demonic beasts to not spread the news of their war with the humans. This way, they could hide it from the world. If the higher-ups asked, they could just say that these humans had died in the demonic beast forest. However, if there were any survivors on the human side, this matter would be of a different nature. The experts on the human side might have sensed that the situation wasn't right and fled in advance. After all, it was a beast tide formed by more than 10 beast kings. It would be difficult to take down the mountain blocking city, let alone a group of people from the Demon Subduing Master Association. I reckon that they have quietly left the camp and are approaching the mountain blocking city to report this matter. Lin Yuan's multicolored eyes flickered. There was no change in the tone of his voice, as if this matter had nothing to do with him. Hearing this, the faces of the three beast kings immediately turned gloomy. With their understanding of the humans, these treacherous and cunning fellows could really do such a thing. Then what should we do? Bai Lu's eyes were gloomy and he couldn't help but ask. After all, if a single survivor escaped from the human side, the 7 empires would put pressure on the Monster King court. The Monster King that ruled over the entire Monster King court would most likely not even put up a struggle, and directly let the humans deal with the dozen or so Monster Kings themselves. After all, as long as they didn't fight, they would only lose a dozen intelligence realm demonic beasts. With the strength of the Hengduan Mountains, they could promote a new batch of beast kings to take over their positions at any time. However, if they started a war with the 7 empires, the Hengduan Mountains would definitely lose. At that time, the losses would be more than just a dozen intelligence realm demonic beasts. We will personally join the battle and defeat them in one go. Lin Yuan exhaled a breath of cold air and said coldly, "We will rush to the mountain blocking city as fast as we can. If we can intercept and kill those humans before they reach the city, then everything will be fine. If we can't, hee." The last 2 sneers were like a heavy hammer that directly smashed the last trace of hope in Bai Lu's heart. Personally join the battle? But what if those humans are really like what I said, ambushing us and trying to kill us to intimidate the other demonic beasts? What should we do? Han Dan he jumped out again, and his tone was cold as he sang the opposite tune to Lin Yuan. Cerebral palsy. This time, it was King Kong who spoke. As a primate, although King Kong looked like a boorish warrior, as a close relative of humans, the intelligence of ape demonic beasts would not be too low. Previously, it had the same concerns as Hondan Crane, but after hearing Black Snake's words, it suddenly understood. This time, the allied army of demon slayers attacked the Hungduan Mountains under the guise of targeting Black Snake. Although their military strength far exceeded the limit of what the Stoneclaw Forest could withstand, it was obviously impossible to withstand the fury of a dozen Beast Kings. If it was only Black Snake or a few Beast Kings, these humans might still be able to fight to the death. However, when the 4 of them arrived at the battlefield, these humans no longer had any hope of surviving. Chapter 170. Roar. King Kong, who was known for his ferocious fighting style, suddenly let out an angry roar. The muscles on his body swelled, and he instantly transformed into a figure that was close to 700 meters tall. He strode towards the human camp like a terrifying prehistoric beast looking down at the battlefield below. It was as if he could crush the ridiculous human camp with just one step. However, after the demonic beasts revealed their true forms, they could easily reach a height of several hundred meters. If the human camp was just a simple building, then the humans naturally wouldn't chase the demonic beasts to a place like the Hungduan mountain range. After all, the impregnable pass in the eyes of the humans was just a small obstacle for the demonic beasts that they could easily cross. The moment King Kong charged, a golden light instantly lit up around the human camp. Little by little, like fireflies, it formed a golden protective shield that protected the entire camp. A vacuum was instantly created on the battlefield. The demonic beasts around the camp couldn't come out, and the demonic beasts that hadn't entered the golden light couldn't enter either. They could only roar and attack the golden protective shield. A series of ripples appeared on the golden protective shield, but it quickly returned to its original state. Obviously, these demonic beasts couldn't break through this protective shield. "See? I told you." Hondan, he shouted as if he had won. His eyes were filled with joy as he immediately opened his mouth to shout. Bai Lu and Lin Yuan rolled their eyes almost at the same time. How did this retard become a Beast King? Seeing that the humans had only activated the defensive formation, Bai Lu was more and more convinced that the human experts had already quietly left the camp. Otherwise, the humans wouldn't be so cowardly. The moment they saw King Kong enter the battlefield, they immediately activated the protective shield that was their trump card. "Black Snake, let's go." Bai Lu shook his head, but he didn't reveal his true form like King Kong. A layer of green light suddenly burst out from the white deer's body and quickly rose up. In the blink of an eye, it enveloped the entire battlefield. Drops of green raindrops continued to fall. When the injured demonic beasts came into contact with these green raindrops, their injuries immediately began to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. Unless it was a broken limb, they would quickly rejoin the battle, as if they were alive and well. Subordinate has received a status enhancement buff. All attributes increased by 20%. After being touched by the green raindrops, the system broadcast immediately sounded in Lin Yuan's mind. F***CK. Lin Yuan was shocked. This white deer, which was said to have a powerful background, was actually a super healer. This kind of ability that could heal his teammates and buff them was only the beginning of his plan. How terrifying. Following that, the egret's body once again emitted a myriad of colors. Ding. Host has received a buff. Attack increased by 15%. Ding. Subordinate has received a status enhancement buff. Defense increased by 35%. Ding. Host has been strengthened. Speed increased by 10%. One system announcement after another rang out in Lin Yuan's mind. Lin Yuan even felt a little numb. Host, Lin Yuan status. Heavenly Black Python, transforming into a Flood Dragon realm. 12/20th talents. 1. Identify the enemy's position by smell. Cannot be upgraded. 2. Create an accurate image of a 500-meter radius around the body by smell. Can be upgraded. 0/103. Monarch of Water, your ability to control water has reached a certain level. In front of you now, most methods of controlling water flow are so shallow and inferior. As long as you have a thought, you can deprive your opponent of their ability to control water flow at any time. Can be upgraded. 0/104. Formless ice. Your control of the ice element has reached a preliminary stage. You are no longer the little trash that can only freeze water flow to injure others. Now, with your water talent, you can even freeze the moisture in the air, turning your ice into formless. Can be upgraded. 0/305. Blood sacrifice wish technique. Use your own blood or other living creature's blood. Can be replaced by attribute points as a sacrifice to make a wish. Whether the wish is fulfilled or not depends on the strength of the wish and the quality of the sacrifice. Cannot be upgraded. 6. Flood Dragon Scale Armor. When the scale armor is in good condition, it can provide the host with a 20% defense buff. Cannot be upgraded. 6. Pseudo-lawful embodiment of heaven and earth. The ancient holy kings ruled the world because they had cultivated to the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth realm. To cultivators, lawful embodiment of heaven and earth is the foundation of their path. After comprehending this skill, you can control the size of your body at will. The smallest size cannot be smaller than the smallest size of your species, and the largest size cannot exceed your original size. Can be upgraded. 0/100 speed, 50+50 defense, 40+8+48 attack, 60+60 demonic power, 300+300 distributable points, 0 martial arts, 1. Golden body secrets, 70/102. Tyrannical singing, cannot be upgraded. Skills, 1. Death coil, 279/300. 2. Poison of poison wine, 111/303. Thorny whip, 0/304. Blood boil technique, 5/105. All things have spirit, can communicate with other living creatures through thought. Cannot be upgraded. Items. Damaged feather, can be repaired. Petrified eye. After glancing at his status panel, Lin Yuan found that with the white deer's buff, his stats had almost doubled. Even his demonic power, which hadn't increased recently, was the same. At this moment, Lin Yuan's strength had reached the level of a rank 6 demonic beast at the wisdom realm. He could see from Xia Siyu's status panel that at the wisdom realm, regardless of whether it was a human or a demonic beast, every rank up would increase their stats by 50 points. Although it wasn't as fast as the Spirit Awakening realm, it was still a terrifying number. At the same time, it also proved that at this stage, one didn't completely rely on stats to fight. At this stage, one would often have one or two extremely troublesome techniques. For example, Lin Yuan's Water Monarch, which could directly rob others of their water-type abilities, the White Deer's various buffs, and Xia Siyu's teleportation like Void Walk. Lin Yuan estimated that after activating the Blood Boil technique, although he wouldn't reach the level of a Mountain Lord, he would definitely be able to suppress most rank 10 Wisdom Realm demonic beasts. At this moment, Lin Yuan couldn't help but look at the White Deer with a fervent gaze. This guy was really cool. It was really a big treasure. After the light on its body disappeared, the White Deer's body swayed a few times. Then it cracked a smile at Lin Yuan and said, "I'm sure you can see that I'm not good at fighting, so I'll have to trouble you to do the rest. The buff I gave you will last for about 2 hours. You should know that if those humans spread this matter, it won't be good for either of us. In fact, someone like you who has no background in the depths of the Hengduan mountain range will end up worse than me." Chapter 171. Yes, I know. Lin Yuan nodded. In the next moment, Lin Yuan's 200-meter-long serpent body appeared. With a speed buff of 100 points, Lin Yuan almost instantly arrived outside the camp protected by the golden light. His huge serpent tail viciously lashed at the golden light barrier. After that attack, Lin Yuan's eyes suddenly flashed with a trace of doubt. What kind of terrifying number was 120 points of attack power? With Lin Yuan's previous defense, if he hadn't activated the golden body secrets, that attack would have directly reduced Lin Yuan's HP by half. The cold pool crane flapped its wings and sneered. "Look, you're almost exhausted. You've used all your buffs on that black serpent, but it's still not effective. If you had used all your buffs on me, I can guarantee that I would have been able to break this tortoise shell in one strike." The White Deer immediately sneered. Although the beast kings in the outer regions of the Hungduan Mountains would change frequently, the powerful beast kings were fixed. For example, the white deer and the cold pool crane were both considered old beast kings in the outer regions of the Hungduan Mountains. It was just that the cold pool crane's way of doing things was more violent, while the white deer's way of doing things was more gentle. Therefore, the relationship between the two wasn't very good. Apart from the fact that both of them hated the black serpent, the white deer and the cold pool crane were also arch-enemies. Furthermore, the reason why it had used all its buffs on Lin Yuan was so that it could watch Lin Yuan attack the camp. After all, that defensive array wasn't something simple. Even if a mountain lord level Yao beast came, it wouldn't dare to say that it could break this defensive barrier in a short period of time. The cold pool crane's words were completely bragging. Naturally, the white deer sneered in response. After sweeping a glance at the golden defensive barrier, Lin Yuan quickly circled around the camp before reluctantly retracting his gaze. Then he wriggled his serpent body and charged toward Mountain Rampart City. The demon slayers in this camp were like cornered beasts. It was only a matter of time before they were all wiped out. What Lin Yuan wanted to do was to intercept and kill the fleeing human experts before they could inform Mountain Blocking City about the demon beast horde. He did not want to help the demon beasts break the turtle shell. After all, time was precious. Therefore, he only wanted to give it a try. Since it did not work, he had no choice but to give up on the attribute points that were within his reach. Hua Sanyang and Lai Shan walked side by side. Their faces were pale. How many years had it been since the demonic beasts took the initiative to step out of the Hungduan Mountain sphere of influence? Under the pressure of the dozen beast kings, they had no choice but to give up on the demon-subduing group that they had personally nurtured to delay the demonic beasts, while they quietly slipped out of the camp. He ran for nearly 2,000 miles. Lai Shan stopped walking. He leaned against a big tree and took 2 deep breaths. "How long have we been running for?" he said angrily. "Those brainless demonic beasts definitely won't be able to catch up. Why are you still following me?" Not to mention that the relationship between the two of them was not good to begin with. Even if they were, it was time to part ways. After all, in the eyes of the demon-subduing masters, informing the Xinwu dynasty that the demonic beasts had stepped out of the Hungduan Mountain's sphere of influence was a huge merit. It could even allow them to enjoy endless glory and wealth, and live out the rest of their lives in peace. It was 2 different things for one person to deliver the message, and 2 people to deliver the message. Lai Shan weighed his own strength and realized that he might not be able to take down Hua Sanyang. Moreover, he had to constantly be on guard against the pursuing demonic beasts. If both sides suffered heavy losses, no one would end up well. Therefore, Lai Shan only wanted to drive Hua Sanyang away as soon as possible, lest this woman suddenly stabbed him when he was unprepared. "Yo, big brother Lai Shan, aren't you joking? Both of us are going to Mountain Blocking City to deliver the message. Are you the only one who can take the shortcut, but I can't?" Hua Sanyang smiled sweetly. Her face revealed a coquettish expression, but her voice gradually turned cold. "Big brother Lai Shan, are you used to being overbearing in your demon-subduing group? I won't fall for it. What are you arguing about? Anyway, no one can leave." Suddenly, a cold and gloomy voice rang out from the side. "Hiss." Hua Sanyang and Lai Shan gasped at the same time, looking at the huge black snake that was constantly approaching them. Their faces simultaneously revealed a look of panic. Before the demonic beasts started to charge, they had already quietly left the camp. After throwing them 2,000 miles away, there were still demonic beasts chasing after them? Could it be that this black snake had directly seen through their thoughts and didn't waste time at the camp, but directly came to kill them? "Oh, I was wondering who it was. So it's you, the black snake." Hua Sanyang's cold voice suddenly rang out. Lai Shan calmed down and carefully looked at the demonic beasts that were chasing after them. Only then did he realize that it was only a black snake that was chasing after them. The army of demonic beasts that he had imagined did not appear at all. Obviously, it was only a black snake that had discovered that they were running away, and the other demonic beasts were still at the camp. "Hey, you're very smart." But sometimes being smart is not a good thing. Lai Shan put his thick-backed broadsword on his shoulder and squeezed a smile on his chubby face, saying, "Today, your grandpa Lai Shan is going to make a fortune." Hua Sanyang looked at the black snake that was still calmly approaching them and slowly frowned. She gently turned her right hand and held a pink folding fan in her hand. How did a black snake that was at most level 2 of the wisdom realm cross the distance of 2,000 miles and directly catch up with them? Also, if this black snake had seen through their thoughts, why didn't it tell the other beast kings? Instead, it chased after them by itself. Did it really think that it was a match for them? Countless distracting thoughts flashed through Hua Sanyang's mind. She had already become somewhat wary of the black snake before she even fought it. "You guys really don't want to leave? Well, that saves me a lot of effort." The black snake stopped about 100 meters away from the two, a pair of different colored eyes looking at Hua Sanyang and Lai Shan. The alarm bells in its mind kept ringing. Lai Shan, who was at level 7 of the airborne realm. Hua Sanyang, who was at level 5 of the airborne realm. Furthermore, both of them were human fighters who had been fighting for a long time. Even though Lin Yuan's strength had skyrocketed, he still could not help but feel a little nervous when facing two such beings at the same time. Lin Yuan did not make a move right away. Instead, he stared at Hua Sanyang and said with his mind, "Master Snake is the most protective of women. Don't say that I didn't give you a chance. As long as you cooperate with me to take on Lai Shan, I'll let you go. As for the demonic beasts, I'll tell them that I was held back by Lai Shan and couldn't catch you." Chapter 172. Hua Sanyang was startled by the sudden thought in her mind. However, Hua Sanyang didn't say anything immediately. She just looked at Lin Yuan and Lai Shan for a while, and then took 2 steps back silently. She didn't agree with Lin Yuan directly, but she made her attitude clear. It wasn't that Hua Sanyang didn't see the big picture. At this time, she would rather trust a demonic beast than join hands with Lai Shan to deal with the unknown black serpent. However, according to the demon slayer's knowledge, although demonic beasts were violent and bloodthirsty, they always kept their promises. Besides, the benefits of killing the black serpent were obviously not as great as informing the Shenwu dynasty that demonic beasts had stepped out of the Hengduan Mountains. To put it bluntly, Hua Sanyang didn't follow Lai Shan just because this path was a shortcut to return to Mountain Blocking City. She wanted Lai Shan dead more than the black serpent. However, they hadn't fought yet. If she stood on the black serpent's side and fought against Lai Shan, wouldn't it be embarrassing if she couldn't defeat Lai Shan? Lai Shan had his back to Hua Sanyang and was highly concentrated. Naturally, he didn't notice the small movements between Hua Sanyang and the black serpent. At this moment, Lai Shan slightly narrowed his eyes. His right hand was holding the hilt of his saber, and his left hand was constantly rubbing the blade back and forth, as if he was preparing something. Although Lai Shan's first reaction when he saw the black serpent was to fight and didn't think as much as Hua Sanyang, the fact that the black serpent could catch up with them already proved that the black serpent didn't match the description in the intelligence. It definitely had the strength to threaten masters like them. "I'll let you attack first. Let's see what tricks you can play." Lin Yuan flicked the black serpent's forked tongue and kept observing the surrounding situation. In fact, Lai Shan and Hua Sanyang weren't the only ones who chose this path. There was also a skinny old man lurking in the woods nearby, as if he was waiting for something. If there were only Lai Shan and Hua Sanyang, Lin Yuan might have directly entered the state of blood boiling to crush the 2 demon slayers the moment they met. After all, the attributes of demonic beasts at level 10 were beyond the ordinary wisdom state. If they couldn't even deal with 2 demon slayers, then the demonic beasts in the Hengduan Mountains wouldn't even have the qualification to linger. You're overconfident, aren't you?" Lai Shan retorted with his mouth, but his body indeed started to move. In Lai Shan's hands, a heavy weapon like the broadsword was as light as a feather. In just a breath's time, Lai Shan had lifted the broadsword from the ground. Then he swung the broadsword towards Lin Yuan. A terrifying blade aura swept over like a mudslide. Lin Yuan didn't dare to be careless in the face of this demon-subduing master, who was known to be able to cut down demonic beasts of the same level with his blade. The instant Lai Shan attacked, he immediately activated the golden body secrets. His body leapt up, and he abruptly grew taller. His golden body secret art was unable to cover his entire body, and he was also unable to control whether or not the enemy's attack would hit the scales that had been tempered by the golden body secret art. However, facing Lai Shan's blade that was formed from the fusion of essence, energy, and spirit, although Lin Yuan was unable to dodge, he could choose which part of his body to receive this blade. Clang! The blade aura smashed onto Lin Yuan's pale golden scales, and a metallic sound rang out. In the next moment, Lin Yuan seemed to be unscathed. He twisted his snake body and smashed towards Lai Shan. Lai Shan's complexion slightly changed. He subconsciously wanted to dodge. However, the moment he moved, a violent real qi suddenly exploded behind him. More than half of the real qi had been neutralized by the real qi protecting his body. The remaining real qi wasn't enough to hurt him. However, it still pushed his entire body forward. Hua San Yang Yu. Lai Shan's eyes were red with anger. He didn't even turn his head as he roared. When the black snake was able to receive his attack that was formed from the fusion of essence, energy, and spirit, Lai Shan had already thought of retreating. After all, he couldn't even break the opponent's defense with his full strength. What was the point of fighting? Even if he joined forces with Hua Sanyang, they might not be a match for this black snake. However, Lai Shan had never expected that at this critical moment, Hua Sanyang would not choose to join forces with him. Instead, she stood on the black snake's side and took the initiative to push him into the black snake's attack range. Death Coil. The skill was instantly activated. Lai Shan's body, which was pushed out, was naturally unable to evade. Lin Yuan easily wrapped him up. The snake's body crazily squeezed Lai Shan's body inch by inch, and the sound of scales rubbing against each other could be heard from time to time. Congratulations to the host for killing a level 7 airborne realm human. 15 attribute points gained. The system broadcast was heard the moment Lai Shan was wrapped up in the snake's body. Lai Shan was not a heavenly strength realm being, after all, and the strength of his physical body was completely incomparable to that of monsters. Even common monsters could not withstand Lin Yuan's death coil, let alone Lai Shan, who was made of flesh and blood. Senior, you've been watching the show for long enough. Are you still not going to show yourself? Lin Yuan lifted his head and said slowly as he loosened the snake's body that was entwined together. Clap. Clap. 2 crisp claps were heard. A skinny old man slowly walked out from the side and said with a smile, "It seems that you really don't see Lai Shan as an opponent. Even when you were fighting Lai Shan, your attention was always on me. Impressive. If you were given enough time, you'd probably become a monster king overseeing a region, wouldn't you? You flatter me. It's just that Mr. Qin has been following me all the way, and I had no choice but to notice you." Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed with cold light as he replied coldly, "Would you mind giving me some time to deal with some family matters?" Blind Qin faintly smiled, not getting angry. Instead, he continued to speak in a modest and courteous manner. From his words and actions, he didn't seem like a decisive demon slayer. Instead, he seemed more like a scholarly old scholar. "Go ahead." Lin Yuan nodded the huge head of the snake and moved to the side to make room for it. It was said that Lai Shan, who could cut down monsters of the same level with a blade, was killed by Hua Sanyang with just one strike. However, to Lin Yuan, even if Lai Shan went all out, he was at most an appetizer. The real main dish was Blind Qin, who had quietly followed him and killed a bloody path through a group of monsters without being discovered by the other monster kings. It was only a guess before. Now that he saw the real person, Lin Yuan was shocked to realize that Blind Qin was even more terrifying than what was written in the information he had. After all, even a professional assassin at level 10 of the airborne realm could not do what Blind Qin did. Betraying humans is one of your sins. Betraying your comrades is the second. Blind Qin looked at Hua Sanyang coldly. He slowly withdrew his scholarly aura and said with a thunderous voice, "Do you have any last words?" Hua Sanyang was on the verge of tears when faced with the anger of Blind Qin, a top-notch expert in mountain blocking city. She knew very well that she was no match for Blind Qin, and that her lovers could not pose any threat to him. Therefore, at this moment, She could only cast her expectant gaze on Black Snake, hoping that it could help her deal with blind Qin. However, she only received an indifferent look from Lin Yuan in response. Chapter 173. A Guqin, supported by genuine qi, flew out of the jungle. The Guqin floated quietly in front of blind Qin. Although it had not made a move yet, the aura on its body was terrifying. Hua Sanyang, whose face was pale, trembled slightly. Her body kept swaying, and a fine layer of cold sweat even oozed out of her smooth forehead. This feeling of being stared at by death was not something that everyone could bear. Black Snake, save me. Tears welled up in Hua Sanyang's eyes. She said in a choked voice, I can tell you the news of the fire Kirin, a primordial remains. The moment her voice fell, the air seemed to have stagnated for a moment. This world had many similarities with the world of Lin Yuan's previous life. Although there were many creatures that did not exist in his previous life, Lin Yuan was familiar with the existence of the noble bloodline of the monster clan, such as the dragon and phoenix Kirin. Dragon-blooded demonic beasts occupied the four seas, while the sky was the territory of all kinds of bird-type demonic beasts. Only a few bird-type demonic beasts would live on land. Therefore, the real leader of the demonic beast palace in the Hengduan Mountains was a Qilin. However, the Kirin in Lin Yuan's previous life was an auspicious beast. The Kirin in this world was completely different. After all, it was born in the dark jungle of the Hengduan Mountains, where the strong preyed on the weak. It had an incomparably precious bloodline, and all it saw and heard were greedy hunters. The master of the monster clan could kill a bloody path in the Hengduan Mountains, and become the master of all monsters. It could be imagined how much blood was on its body. The fire Kirin that Hua Sanyang mentioned was not the master of the monster clan, but a monster from an unknown place 15 years ago. It was said that its cultivation had reached the terrifying Monster King realm. It was an existence that could make the 7 great empires join forces to be on guard. Its strength was not inferior to the Kirin in the depths of the Hengduan Mountains. At that time, the human side scattered a large number of monster slayers to the Hengduan Mountains almost every day to gather information. Although the Hengduan Mountains were powerful, only Kirin had reached the Monster King realm. It was completely incomparable to the Dragon Palace that sat on the 4 seas. Therefore, the human side was very afraid that the fire Kirin would join forces with Kirin to expand the territory of the Hengduan Mountains, and even destroy 1 or 2 human empires. But what no one expected was that the fire Kirin only caught a glimpse of it in the periphery of the Hengduan Mountains, and never appeared again. Even the Monster King Kirin, who was very active at that time, fell silent. Over the years, the monster clan did not have the slightest invasive behavior towards the human side. They even made concessions several times. This made many people suspect that the fire Kirin actually came to compete with Kirin for the position of the Monster King. After a bloody battle in the depths of the Hengduan Mountains that no one could see, both sides fell. Therefore, the monster clan, who was eager to invade the human territory at that time, fell silent. Regarding this matter, let alone humans, even not many monster beasts in the Hengduan Mountains knew about it. Lin Yuan only saw a few words from the documents recorded by the three-eyed ape. After all, the three-eyed ape came from the mountain-shaking ape clan, which was an existence that was not inferior to the green swamp clan in the depths of the Hengduan Mountains. Even the mountain-shaking ape clan did not know about it. They only knew that the Monster King Kirin did not fall, but they did not know why it fell silent. As for the fire Kirin, it was more like a taboo. The monster beasts that knew the details of that year did not speak, and the new generation of monster beasts did not dare to ask. Therefore, even the monster beasts did not know about what happened in the Hengduan Mountains. At this moment, a human said that she knew about it. How could Lin Yuan believe her? Hehe. After sneering twice, Lin Yuan turned his head again and did not answer. It's true. Hua Sanyang saw that Lin Yuan did not believe her. She staggered back and said in a trembling voice, "About 2 months ago, I had a lover. He told me that he was going to be rich. At that time, I asked him out of curiosity. As a result, he told me that the fire Kirin that appeared in the periphery of the Hengduan Mountains 15 years ago had fallen, and he had found the burial place of the fire Kirin. At that time, I didn't believe it either. After all, although the fire Qilin was a demonic beast that appeared 15 years ago, there were too few people who had seen it at that time. Moreover, from that day onwards, the fire Qilin had never appeared again. Therefore, I felt that he had drunk too much wine, and was speaking nonsense to me. Until. At this point, Hua Sanyang paused and looked at the person and the snake present with weak eyes. Lin Yuan turned his head back with a cold face. It was almost time for Hua Sanyang to come up with enough evidence to prove that the fire Kirin really existed, and that her lover had found the burial place of the fire Kirin. Otherwise, even if Hua Sanyang had a glib tongue, Lin Yuan would not look at this dying person. Blind Qin gently pressed his hands on the guqin. There was no change in his expression, but the killing intent on his body had obviously weakened a lot. He seemed to be very interested in the fire Kirin that Hua Sanyang mentioned. He took out this thing and said it was a gift for me. Hua Sanyang reached out and fumbled in her clothes for a while, and slowly took out a gray scale. Unlike the prismatic black scales on Lin Yuan's body, the gray scale that Hua Sanyang took out was round, with a square red depression in the center of the scale. The whole thing looked like a copper coin, but Lin Yuan could still feel an amazing fire attribute spiritual power from this scale. Among all the monster beasts that Lin Yuan had seen, none of them had scales in this shape. Moreover, the monster qi of the monster beasts came from the monster qi. When a monster beast appeared in front of you, you might feel a surge of monster qi, but when a basin of monster beast meat appeared in front of you, except for the delicious taste of the meat and the energy produced after devouring it, you would never think that this basin of meat was a very terrifying monster beast when it was alive. A scale that was peeled off from the body still contains such abundant fire attribute spiritual power. Then, the owner of this scale was undoubtedly an extremely terrifying existence. In other words, the fire Kirin that Hua Sanyang mentioned was indeed real. Blind Qin didn't know what to think, but even his breathing became a little rapid. There was a trace of eagerness in his eyes as he looked at Hua Sanyang. A bit interesting. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic pupils slightly narrowed, and a cold light flashed in his heterochromatic pupils. As a monster beast with both ice and water attributes, the remains of the fire Kirin had no effect on him. It could even be said that the remains of the fire Kirin were highly toxic to Lin Yuan. Chapter 174. If it had been any other water-type monster, Hua Sanyang would not have been able to save her life with what she had taken out. However, Lin Yuan was different. If it had been a fire-type monster, Lin Yuan would have indeed scoffed at it. However, the fire Kirin's corpse was a different matter for Lin Yuan. He could use all kinds of monster materials to create new monsters in the soldier creation system. The Maro he had created when he was testing the waters had now become Lin Yuan's right-hand man. Therefore, Lin Yuan was still very interested in collecting powerful monster materials. After all, the bloodline in his body would evolve into a true dragon sooner or later. When that time came, the 4 seas would be his goal to conquer, but this did not mean that he would abandon the land. Lin Yuan naturally would not miss the opportunity to create a loyal Kirin to become the king of the earth. Blind Qin looked meaningfully at Lin Yuan, shook his head gently and said, "Little girl, you want me and the black snake to kill each other just because of the fire Kirin's corpse? You want to sit back and reap the benefits, don't you? Unfortunately, as a demon slayer, you are really a failure. This black snake is a water-type monster. Giving it the corpse of a fire-type monster is equivalent to giving it a sudden death poison. Do you think it will really attack?" When he finished speaking, Hua Sanyang's face was obviously much paler. Of course, she knew that the black snake was a water-type monster, but she still wanted to take a gamble. After all, the fire Kirin's corpse was not hers. If she could use some useful information to exchange for a way to survive, it would be a great profit. However, after Blind Qin's words, even if the black snake had been a little tempted before, it would probably have calmed down at this moment. The fire Kirin's corpse was something the black snake could not use. As a beast king, the black snake itself would not be willing to let its subordinates surpass it in strength. After all, that would cause its status as a beast king to waver. Therefore, the black snake would not give the fire Kiran's corpse to its subordinates. Then I'm afraid you're thinking too much. I'm quite interested in this fire Qilin. Lin Yuan glanced at Blind Qin and said coldly. For some reason, Blind Qin's eyes lit up when he heard about the fire Kiran. Now that he heard that Hua Sanyang had more accurate information, he immediately said those words to dispel Lin Yuan's desire for the fire Kiran's body. After all, as one of the demon slayer masters who led the crusade against the black serpent, he would never spare a thought for the black serpent. In his heart, he was eager to see the black serpent die. In other words, Blind Qin wanted to monopolize fire Kiran's corpse. Sure enough, when Lin Yuan's voice fell, Blind Qin's face turned gloomy. However, Lin Yuan had no intention of talking nonsense with Blind Qin. Instead, he asked again. Your lover has already discovered the fire Kiran's burial site, and even gave you a fire Kiran's scale as a gift. Doesn't that mean that the fire Kiran's body has already fallen into his hands? Do you want to use this information to get a free ride? Blind Qin's killing intent rose again. That's right. The fire Kiran's burial site had already been discovered, and even its scale had been peeled off. How could it still be in the same place? Perhaps Hua Sanyang's lover had already sold it for a good price. Hee. Hua Sanyang laughed dryly. Her eyes were somewhat weak as she said. If he obtained the fire Kiran's scale, how could he not have obtained the fire Kiran's corpse? Seniors, do you think I didn't think so at that time? That's why I tied him up at that time. After a round of torture, he told me that he couldn't get the fire Qilin's body. He picked up the scale outside the cave and gave it to me to deceive me. He wanted to make me give myself to him, that's all. However, he did indeed see the fire Kiran's corpse. It was in a cave that they couldn't see the depths of. There were many demonic beasts roaring inside, and all of them sounded extremely irritable. They waited outside for a long time, but they didn't see any demonic beasts leave the cave, nor did they see any traces of demonic beast activity inside the cave. They could only see a fire Kiran standing at the end of their line of sight, glaring at them. However, that fire Kiran didn't move even once for several days. Therefore, they knew that the fire Kiran had been dead for a long time. At that time, they didn't believe it, and it was impossible for them to let go of such a great opportunity. They thought that they were well prepared and could fight against anything in the cave. Even if they couldn't defeat it, they could at least escape unscathed. Therefore, they formed a team and wanted to enter the cave to investigate. However, the first batch of guys who entered the cave seemed to have mysteriously disappeared. After entering the cave, there were no traces of them. Only a few screams could be heard from time to time. Speaking of this, there was a touch of fear in Hua Sanyang's eyes. She continued in a trembling voice. After that, I formed a team and went to that place. Indeed, they saw a fire Kiran. Therefore, we entered the cave and wanted to bring out the fire Kiran's body. However, we didn't expect that as soon as we stepped into the cave, the world before our eyes seemed to have changed. Although we could still see the outline of the cave, demonic beasts with scarlet eyes appeared out of thin air. They seemed to have been hungry for a long time. As soon as they saw us, they immediately pounced on us. Fortunately, our strength was not bad, and we easily killed those demonic beasts that attacked us. However, as we gradually moved forward, the entire cave gradually became hot and dry. Everyone, including me, inexplicably felt agitated and depressed in their hearts. Looking at our companions who were as close as brothers, it was as if they were looking at the enemies who killed their fathers. I don't know who it was, but someone suddenly killed one of their companions. After that, the whole team fell into chaos. Everyone crazily attacked everything they saw. Some people killed each other, and some people died of exhaustion. Humph. Blind Qin coldly snorted and said in a stiff tone. It's not difficult for a group of people with weak minds to be affected by evil tricks. However, this old man is very curious. You said you were also affected, so how did you come out of that cave alive? As far as this old man knows, after being affected by this kind of evil trick, you will either be killed by your companions or die of exhaustion. The fire Kiran. It was the fire Kiran that saved me. As Hua Sanyang spoke, she suddenly became excited and said while dancing with joy. Before I was exhausted, I saw the scale on my body transform into the appearance of the fire Kirin. When I woke up again, I was already outside the cave. However, none of my companions came out. It was as if they had evaporated into thin air. After that, I didn't dare to enter that cave again. Chapter 175. After Hua Sanyang finished speaking, Lin Yuan and Blind Qin didn't say anything. The atmosphere couldn't help but turn cold. At this time, Hua Sanyang's eyes lit up. She seemed to have thought of something and said complacently, "Since the two of you are interested in the information about the fire Kirin in my hands, then you must let me go first. Otherwise, I won't tell you anything." Blind Qin raised his eyebrows and said with a gloomy face, "Ridiculous, you're not the only one who has this information. This old man only needs to kill you and then go to Mountain Blocking City to find your lover. At most, I'll have to spend a little more effort." Although Lin Yuan didn't say anything, his eyes flickered with uncertainty. The burial place of the fire Kirin must be in the Hengduan Mountains, so he had the geographical advantage. Even if Blind Qin could get the exact information, it couldn't escape his eyes and ears. Even if Hua Sanyang refused to say, he wasn't in a hurry. In any case, he would be able to find the burial place of the fire Kirin sooner or later. After all, there were only a few areas in Mountain Blocking City where the demon-subduing master was active. Hua Sanyang licked her delicate red lips and said with a smile, "Old Senior Qin, it's not that I'm looking down on you, but ask yourself honestly, if such a thing happened to you, would you still be able to keep the guy who might get angry out of humiliation and spread the news?" At this point, Hua Sanyang still had a confident look on her face. She said with a smile, "I'm the only one who has this information about the burial place of the fire Kirin. Unless your luck is heaven-defying and the guy who entered the cave with me has a survivor, and you just happen to run into him." Lin Yuan and Blind Qin looked at each other. At the same time, they silently said in their hearts, "A bootlicker will die a horrible death." This guy used the fire Kirin's scale to find his goddess. Not only was he not favored, but he also lost his life. He was really stupid. If he used the fire Kirin's scale as evidence and sold the information about the burial place of the fire Kirin to some big force, the benefits he could get would be more than enough for him to eat and wear. Why did he have to go to Hua Sanyang to court death? Lin Yuan shook its head and flicked its forked tongue. It sneered and said, "However, your situation still hasn't changed. If I let you go back to Mountain Blocking City, wouldn't that mean that I won't be able to get anything? Blind Qin was the one who wanted to kill you. But now, I'm the one who wants you dead. What, you don't think that Blind Qin can deal with me, do you?" At this point, Lin Yuan changed the topic and added, "Even if this king isn't his match, he definitely can't do anything to this king. In other words, if this king wants to leave, he can't stop him. If this king wants to kill you, he can't stop him either." Every word was like a clap of thunder, shocking everyone. Blind Qin didn't refute Lin Yuan's words. After all, an existence that could kill Lai Shan in an instant was indeed a real beast king that he couldn't underestimate. Even if it was because of Hua Sanyang's help, it couldn't be denied that Lin Yuan had the strength to fight Lai Shan. If they really fought, even without the support of other demon beasts, Lai Shan wouldn't be a match for Lin Yuan in terms of physical strength. "What do you want?" Hua Sanyang slightly narrowed her eyes. Lin Yuan grinned and beckoned Hua Sanyang with his snake tail. He said indifferently, "Come here and tell me secretly where the fire Kirin is buried. Then, I'll let you leave with Senior Qin. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave." Impudent. Blind Qin's face sank and he immediately roared. However, after roaring, Blind Qin suddenly cleared his throat and said in a deep voice, "Let me introduce myself again. I'm Huazu, an inner disciple of the Tao of Immortal Music. If I tell you directly, you might not understand what kind of power the Tao of Immortal Music is. Let me tell you this. Any one of the 7 great empires can only be regarded as an ant in front of my Tao of Immortal Music." "What? You don't have the confidence to defeat me, so you want to use your power to suppress me?" Lin Yuan sneered twice and replied without the slightest bit of fear, "You, Master Snake, are still the Beast King under the jurisdiction of the Monster Beast Imperial Court. Even if the forces behind you can suppress the Monster Beast Imperial Court to bow their heads, Master Snake can easily join the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. Guess if you, a mere inner disciple, are qualified to make the forces behind you enemies with the Monster Beast Imperial Court and the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas? Comparing background? Blind Qin was at his wit's end, wasn't he? The 7 great empires occupied the entire Sky Martial continent. No matter what this Tao of immortal music's origin was, it was still one of the powers formed by the 7 great empires. Even the Monster King Court had to be wary of the 7 great empires, let alone a human's cultivation sect. If the 7 great empires were willing to allow the Tao of immortal music to exist, they could still dominate their own territory. If these cultivation sects dared to show the slightest bit of arrogance towards any of the 7 great empires, then there was no need for them to exist. How dare they say that the 7 great empires were ants? Was there such a powerful power in this world? However, even if there was, it didn't matter. In any case, a human's power was a human's power. No matter how strong the Tao of immortal music was among the humans' powers, it wouldn't be of much use in the Hengduan mountain range. Blind Qin choked on Lin Yuan's words and was momentarily at a loss for words. If he took out his identity, he could bully small sects and small families. However, he really had no choice now. After all, the remains of the fire Kirin were of great importance. It was fine if he couldn't find it before, but now that there was news, how could he let this matter become complicated? However, he didn't expect the Black Snake's thoughts to be so clear. After all, although the Tao of immortal music was powerful, it was not a great power on the level of the empires. It was impossible for it to make the Hengduan mountain range bow its head, and it was even more impossible for the Monster King Court to hand over a Beast King. Not to mention that the Black Snake was a dragon bloodline demonic beast. Even if the Hengduan mountain range no longer protected it, the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas was willing to accept it. Compared to the Black Snake's background, he was just an inner sect disciple. It seemed that he really couldn't take it out. Old thing, since we've fallen out, then Master Snake won't pretend anymore. Lin Yuan took a step forward, and his heterochromatic eyes flashed with a cold light. He roared, "Unless you do as I say, I will never let you go with this woman. If you have the guts, then kill her and we'll go our separate ways." After these words, Hua Sanyang's beautiful face suddenly turned pale. She originally thought that by offering the news of the fire Kirin, it was tantamount to offering a life-saving talisman. In the end, she didn't expect that it would intensify the conflict between the two sides. Her end would be worse than death. Then there's nothing to talk about. Anyway, we're going to have a fight. Blind Qin caught the guqin with both hands, and a murderous aura bloomed all over his body. He said in a cold voice, "Let's see who's the real deal. Let me see what kind of ability you, Black Snake, have to compete with me." "That's exactly what I'm thinking." Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed with a bright light, and his fighting spirit surged. Chapter 176. Huazhu Dao stroked the zither as if he was caressing the face of his lover. However, as Huazhu Dao moved, sound blades began to condense in front of him. Lin Yuan cast a sideways glance at Lai Shan. There were already several hundred sound blades, and in his perception, the strength of each sound blade was not the slightest bit inferior to that of Lai Shan's spirit, qi and spirit. If Lai Shan Fuxing were to fight Huazhu Dao, he wouldn't even be able to survive this round of sound blades. "Heh, Huazhu Dao, you're only so. Every sound blade is as strong as Lai Shan's. However, if Lai Shan couldn't break through this king's defense with one slash, do you think you can break through this king's defense with 100 slashes?" Lin Yuan sneered. He manipulated the demonic energy in his body as he tried to distract Huazhu Dao. Huazhu Dao smiled carelessly and said slowly, "You'll know when you try." As soon as he finished speaking, the 100 sound blades shot out at the same time. They instantly crossed 100 meters and appeared in front of Lin Yuan. That wasn't all. The sound blades didn't attack Lin Yuan directly. Instead, as Huazhu Dao continued to play the zither, undead warriors in rotten armor appeared out of thin air. They held the sound blades that appeared before and slashed at Lin Yuan. At this moment, Huazhu Dao's zither music seemed to have a hint of a powerful army. Black Snake, be it in terms of intelligence or strength, you can be considered an extraordinary existence among demonic beasts. It's a pity that you have to die in my hands today. Otherwise, I would really like to see how far you can grow in the future. Huazhu Dao's hands kept plucking the missing string, but his voice wasn't affected by the zither music at all. Today, I will send you on your way with a formation-breaking song. You want to kill this king with mere zither music? Lin Yuan grinned. Invisible ice gathered around him. Every time the sound blades of the undead warriors fell, they would hit an extremely hard block of ice. Using his speed that was much faster than the undead warriors, Lin Yuan kept moving through the formation formed by the undead warriors and sound blades. He kept getting closer to Huazhu Dao. The distance of 100 meters was crossed in the blink of an eye. Clang! The zither strings paused. Daoist Huazhu stood up and lightly tapped the ground with the tip of his foot. Once again he plucked the strings of the zither. Ripples continuously appeared in front of him. In the short span of a few breaths, he once again opened up a distance of more than 20 meters. However, Lin Yuan was constantly retreating under the transparent ripples. Huazhu sneered as he pulled a safe distance away. The song of golden spears and armored horses breaking the enemy formation sounded again, but this time it was much more hurried than before. Huazhu snorted coldly, and his expression became somewhat displeased. He had long guessed that this black snake had a certain trump card. After all, no matter how strong this black snake was, it couldn't be completely different from what was recorded in their intelligence. At most, it had the strength of a level 4 or wisdom realm monster. However, such strength was not enough to take a hit from Lai Shan, and it was not enough to face him without fear. However, he didn't expect the black snake's trump card to be so terrifying. The black snake's demonic aura directly soared to the sky, and even he was firmly suppressed. He was afraid that even a level 10 monster in the wisdom realm would not have such an aura. It was really terrifying. It's too strong, too strong. Hua Sanyang watched the black snake and Huazhu fight, and her eyes couldn't help but be absent-minded. Not to mention the headless knight. Even the undead warrior from before could easily kill her. However, the black snake was able to perform this kind of attack with ease, and even suppressed Huazhu's aura at this moment. Golden body secrets open. Invisible ice. Thorny whip. The system skills were activated one after another. The headless knight's azure dragon rolls the sea first chopped on a piece of extremely hard ice, and then the blade immediately cut through the ice like cutting tofu. A moment later, the pale golden snake's tail, like a straight steel spear, met the headless knight's crescent blade. The blade and the snake's tail crossed each other. Huazhu and Hua Sanyang's eyes slowly widened. Chapter 177. After the martial saint's saber fell, he was unexpectedly unable to maintain his momentum. Instead, he was sent flying by the faint golden snake's tail. The momentum of the azure dragon rolls the sea was released again and again. The headless knight raised the crescent moon blade in his hand, and seemed to be stunned for a while. Then his body shook slightly, and his transparent body gradually became transparent until it completely disappeared. Thump! A crisp sound was heard. The remaining 6 strings of the 6-string guqin in front of Huazhu Dao instantly broke, and the tune of breaking the formation stopped at the same time. UPFFTT. Huazhu Dao looked at the black snake in a daze and raised his right hand as if to say something to the black snake. He opened his mouth, but he immediately spat out a mouthful of sticky black blood. Lin Yuan glanced at Huazhu Dao indifferently with his heterochromatic eyes. The light in his eyes did not change at all, but he quietly hid the snake tail with broken scales behind his back. The proficiency of golden body secrets on the interface dropped by 5 points. The projection of the martial saint broke his strongest defense and attack with just 1 strike. If it had been for Huazhu Dao's insufficient cultivation, he would have been able to withstand 1 or 2 more strikes from the martial saint, and Lin Yuan would have had no way to survive. However, the final winner of the game was still Lin Yuan. The deal was a loss. Even if Huazhu Dao was at level 9 of the airborne realm, and had an extraordinary heritage, there was no way he could have brought about 55 attribute points to Lin Yuan. Even if he had enough attribute points, the area where the golden body secrets would be refined next time might not be the area at the tip of the snake tail. The loss during the refinement period was far more than what the data said. Huazhu Dao struggled to stabilize his body, seemingly wanting to fight a few more rounds with Lin Yuan. However, in just a moment, he knelt on the ground due to his legs going weak. It was obvious that the Headless Knight's strike was on par with Lin Yuan's, and the recoil on him was not small. It would have been fine if Lin Yuan had died, but at the moment, Lin Yuan's condition was obviously much better than his. In the end, both sides still suffered losses. A cold light flashed in Hua Sanyang's eyes. She sneered and said, "You two are not qualified to know my secrets. Didn't you want to kill me? Come on." At this moment, Hua Sanyang was in a state of madness. After all, ever since Lin Yuan had appeared, she had been on the brink of death several times. At this moment, Black Snake and Huazhu Dao were both injured and unable to move. Now that she had the upper hand, how could she not vent? What responded to her was still Lin Yuan's indifferent, heterochromatic vertical pupils. "You dare to glare at me? Your black snake eyes are rather beautiful. Today I'll pluck your eyes." When I return to Mountain Blocking City, I'll immediately find someone to forge a pair of earrings for me. Consider it an honor for a little demonic beast like you. Hua Sanyang put her hands on her waist and glared back at Lin Yuan, not to be outdone. "Heh, cough cough. Never would I have imagined that a black serpent like you would actually possess so many trump cards. Your level of cunning is not at all inferior to a human's. This old man was not wrong to be defeated by you." Huazhu Dao, whose cultivation was higher, soon realized the reason why Lin Yuan was as calm as Mount Tai. 5 breaths were lurking in the jungle. As the winner was decided, although the 5 breaths were still hidden, their sharpness was directly directed at him and Hua Sanyang. Obviously, these 5 breaths were the ambush troops arranged by Lin Yuan in advance. "TSK Demon Emperor, it seems that you still don't believe me." Xia Siyu played with the dagger in his hand expressionlessly. He was the first to walk out of the jungle and sneered. "In addition to us 2 brothers, you actually prepared other experts. What? Are you still afraid that we'll kill you as well? One must always be on guard against others, especially assassins who work for profit." Lin Yuan replied indifferently and said in a deep voice, "I don't believe that you'll become a die-hard follower of me just because of my words. In this case, it's more in your interest to kill me. Isn't that right?" Xiao En followed behind Xia Siyu and jumped out of the woods. He pulled the longbow in his hand and pointed the cold arrow directly at Hua Sanyang, who was in a daze, and Huazhu Dao, who was vomiting blood. His pair of sharp eyes flashed with a faint cold light, as if any small movement of the two could not escape his eyes. "You're right. Assassins are indeed untrustworthy, especially assassins who betray their own sect." Another cold voice sounded. The shadow walker next to the purple-eyed youth stepped out of the void and stared at Xia Siyu with a pair of cold eyes, as if he was staring at a corpse. There was no doubt that he would draw his sword at Xia Siyu in the next moment. "A group of guys who can't be seen in the light. What's the point of talking about sex?" The fat sword dancer dressed in green beside Sun and also walked out from the side. He sneered and said, "I know that your sect leader is on the bounty list. Every year, there will be countless people on your side, assassinating your sect leader. The winner will take everything from the loser and directly take over the position of the sect leader. Does a sect like yours really have the slightest cohesion at all? It's still better than your sword dancers who are assassins, but have a warrior style. It's neither fish nor fowl." The Shadow Walker and Xia Siyu said at the same time. The two who were supposed to be opposing each other actually had the same attitude towards the sword dancers, who were from the same sect. "There's another one, who is it?" Huazhu Dao wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with his sleeve, and his eyes fell in the direction behind Lin Yuan. The aura that had not yet appeared was very strong, not even the slightest bit weaker than his peak. Being coldly stared at by such an existence, even Huazhu Dao felt a burst of weakness in his heart. This old man is Wine Sword Xian. An old man in sackcloth walked out of the forest step by step with his hands behind his back. A simple self-introduction revealed a majestic aura like a mountain, inexplicably giving people a feeling of incomparable dominance. Wine Sword Xian. Jiu. You are. This is impossible. You should have died long ago. Huazhu Dao's eyes were wide open as he stared at the old man in sackcloth in horror, as if he had thought of some shocking secret. In fact, it was indeed so. After all, in today's Xinwu dynasty, Jiu was a taboo surname. Because the Xinwu dynasty's ruler was not rightful, the previous dynasty's royal family had the surname Jiu. At the end of the previous dynasty's destruction, a member of the royal family who was proficient in swordsmanship killed his way to the title of Sword King in the rebel army. But this Sword King, shouldn't he have committed suicide 30 years ago under the encirclement of the Xinwu dynasty's army? Ha, the heavens don't want me to die. Wine Sword Xian casually waved his hand and said lightly, but if the heavens don't accept me, it means that I have unfinished business to do, such as overthrowing Xinwu. Chapter 178. Looking at the strange atmosphere in the field, Hua Sanyang finally remembered what kind of existence this old man in linen clothes was. He was a true Heavengang realm expert. His swordsmanship was mysterious. At his peak, he could fight against 100,000 soldiers with his sword. When the true qi of first yuan enters my stomach, I will be invincible. This sentence was used to evaluate the experts in the Gang Qi realm. The energy in the Heavengang realm cultivator's body had evolved from true qi to another kind of energy. His body was constantly absorbing the spiritual energy between heaven and earth to replenish his body. Even if his body was weak, with the support of the Gang Qi, he would have a physique and recovery ability that was not inferior to demonic beasts. Every move of his could carry dozens of tons of terrifying strength. This was the reason why Heavengang realm experts could fight against demonic beasts of the same level. But why would such an existence serve a snake demon of the wisdom realm? Could it be that you want to? Hua Sanyang felt that she knew too much. Just looking at the majestic black snake, her hot body was already trembling like a sieve. The Xinwu dynasty was not rightful. This king only promised this old man that when he was strong enough, he would gather a group of demonic beasts to help him restore the dynasty. Lin Yuan's eyes were indifferent. He had no intention of hiding anything. A Heavengang realm expert in his hand was Lin Yuan's biggest trump card. If it was not for Jiu Jianxian, who was only willing to deal with the cultivators of the Xinwu dynasty, no one in the entire periphery of the Hengduan Mountains would be his match. Huazhu Dao took a deep breath. There was a bit of fear in his eyes as he looked at the black snake. He thought that the black snake's target was only the periphery of the Hengduan Mountains. Even if it was angry this time, it would at most vent its anger on Zhongshan City. But he never thought that the shadow of the black snake had shrouded the entire Xinwu dynasty. Even the most powerful existence of the remnants of the previous dynasty was willing to serve the black snake. One must know that although the Jiao clan of the previous dynasty had lost its throne, it was still a real old dynasty. The power in the shadows was far from what the Xinwu dynasty could compare with. There would even be an assassination attempt on the emperor every 2 to 3 days. If it wasn't for the emperor's peerless martial prowess, the world would have been in chaos long ago. Lord Black Snake, please spare my life. I'm willing to swear on my cultivation to serve you loyally. Huazhu Dao's forehead was dripping with cold sweat. His half-kneeling posture had completely changed to a kneeling posture. He was a smart man. Naturally, he could see that even if the people called by the Black Snake were not on good terms with each other, the general situation was still in the hands of the Black Snake. Moreover, the Black Snake had unscrupulously revealed his secret. Obviously, he did not intend to give face to the immortal music sect behind him. When this matter was over, he and Hua Sanyang would not be able to survive. Mr. Jiu, what do you think? Lin Yuan turned his head to look at the wine sword profound. An array of light flashed across his heterochromatic eyes. With my eyes, the wine sword profound teased. Then his face turned serious and he said in a deep voice, "This guy can rely on you to save his life today. In the future he may betray you and me in order to save his life. Now his wings are not fully grown. The Shimwu dynasty only needs to stretch out a finger to crush you, the future demon emperor, right? As soon as the wine sword profound's voice faded, the other 4 people in the field moved almost at the same time. In the blink of an eye, Huazhu Dao's neck was pierced by 4 daggers at the same time. His breathing stopped and he was dead. What about you? Are you going to resist stubbornly or cooperate obediently? Lin Yuan raised his eyelids and looked at Hua Sanyang's face. If he had not blocked the headless horseman's saber and was unable to move, he would have killed Huazhu Dao with his own hands. At this moment, he could only watch helplessly as he missed the big gift of attribute points. Hiss. Hua Sanyang took a deep breath and said with a pale face, "Don't joke around. You've told me so many secrets. Whether I'm worthy of you or not, I'm still going to die. In that case, why should I tell you about the fire, Kiran?" Heh. Xia Siyu suddenly laughed and said with a playful face, "That's a big difference. If you obediently tell us everything you know, after we confirm it, the demon emperor will naturally give you a quick death. But if you don't want to tell us anything, then I'm sorry, but I think you'll regret it. Why did you have to be so stubborn in front of the Shadow Walker?" The fatty nodded cooperatively and said with a fake smile, Yes, miss. Let me tell you, this group of Shadow Walkers are all demons. They especially like stubborn people. No matter how stubborn you are, they can grind your bones inch by inch, and then get the information they want." "Shut up, fatty." The Shadow Walker and Xia Siyu said in unison again. They were all from the same sect. It was as if the Shadow Walker would torture people, while the sword dancer's side was clean. Wasn't this a typical case of the guilty party complaining first? "Then the negotiation is over." Lin Yuan glanced at Xia Siyu and said, "Take her away. After you get the information I want, come to my lair and find me." Congratulations, host, for completing the second phase of the Black Serpent Crusade. Seesaw. Reward 1,000 war points. Black Serpent Crusade Final Phase. Counterattack. Begin. Mission requirements. Host, please lead the angry demon beasts to break through Mountain Blocking City and trample all the high and mighty humans under your feet. Tell them that your dignity is inviolable. Completion reward. 2,000 war points. Failure punishment. 2,000 war points deducted. With the end of Lin Yuan's raid, there was no longer any hope for the human camp. Being trampled by the demon beasts was something that would happen sooner or later. Therefore, it was normal for the system to directly judge the completion of the second phase of the war. However, the requirement of the third phase made Lin Yuan speechless. Bai Lu went all out to give Lin Yuan a buff that doubled his attributes even when he was in a weakened state. He was afraid that the surviving humans would escape back to Mountain Blocking City and pass the news of the demon beast horde in the periphery of the Hengduan Mountains to the Shimwu dynasty. Because if that happened, the 7 dynasties would definitely join forces to pressure the demon beast palace and force them to hand over all the beast kings that participated in this demon beast horde as an example to others. However, this final phase of the mission required Lin Yuan to lead the demon beasts to attack Mountain Blocking City. If this mission could not be completed, not only would he have to spit out all the rewards he had received, he would also have to deduct a portion of his attribute points to make up for the difference. Even if he was the winner of this Black Serpent Crusade, he would not gain any benefits. Chapter 179. Lin Yuan felt as if the snake's head had grown bigger. This mission was in conflict with the will of the demonic beasts. Although he could lead the demonic beasts from the Stoneclaw Forest to attack Mountain Blocking City, he could also get the support of the members of the Demonic Emperor Association. However, Lin Yuan was definitely not willing to do such a thing that would harm others without benefiting himself. If there was no involvement of a beast king with such a deep background like Bai Lu, the Monster Beast Imperial Court would probably hand him over without the need for the Green Swamp clan to operate. Taking a step back, even if the Demonic Beast Royal Court was unyielding this time, the surrounding beast kings might have thoughts of swallowing him up after seeing his strength greatly reduced. Especially the Cold Pool Crane, who had an old grudge with the demonic beasts from the Stoneclaw Forest, would definitely be the first to jump out and hit him while he was down. Demonic beasts are coming. Let's go. The wine sword enigma suddenly opened his eyes wide and swung his sleeves, sweeping up the four assassins and the pale-faced Hua Sanyang and disappearing from this area. Lin Yuan maintained his majestic and motionless appearance. The snake had slowly turned around, and he saw King Kong, whose muscles were shining with a metallic luster, leading hundreds of wisdom state demonic beasts into his line of sight. These demonic beasts all had monstrous blood chi. From afar, it looked like a wave of blood was crashing over. God knows how many demon slayers these demonic beasts had slaughtered in the human camp. Black Snake, why are you here? Vajra's thunderous voice exploded once again. He frowned as he glanced at the corpse of Huazhu and Laishan, who had been turned into meat paste by Lin Yuan. Only then did his brows relax a little. He opened his mouth again and said, "You killed them all? Blind Qin and Laishan both died in my hands." Lin Yuan grinned, revealing a bitter smile. He continued, "But as you can see, I can't move now and will need at least an hour to recover." However, Blind Qin and Laishan brought up the rear and allowed Hua Sanyang to continue running. "I don't think we can catch up to her." When Lin Yuan's voice fell, the joy in Vajra's heart completely disappeared. 3 human experts had escaped. If he could kill them all, this matter could be resolved. But now that Hua Sanyang had escaped, it meant that Laishan and Blind Qin had been killed for nothing. However, King Kong opened his mouth several times, but he couldn't say a single word to blame Black Snake. After all, the demonic beasts in the outer regions of the Hengduan Mountains all knew of Blind Qin's great name. He was an existence that had once hunted down a beast king that was close to the Mountain Lord realm. The fact that Lin Yuan was able to catch up to these humans and brazenly kill Blind Qin and Laishan was already an extremely outstanding achievement. If this news were to spread back to the Hengduan Mountains, the reputation of this Black Snake would definitely be much more resounding than these veteran beast kings. "I'll go after him." King Kong patted his chest and was about to stride toward Mountain Rampart City. "You won't be able to catch up to him. Hua Sanyang has already escaped. Even if she's not as fast as you, she can still enter the line of sight of the Sentry Tower of Mountain Rampart City before you can catch up to her. Do you think you can still kill Hua Sanyang in front of all the humans of Mountain Rampart City and then swagger away? Don't be silly." In the past, Senior Three-Eyed Ape swept through Mountain Rampart City and forced the previous city lord of Mountain Rampart City to sign a treaty forbidding them from hunting in the outer regions of the Hengduan Mountains. Since then, the humans have never allowed demonic beasts of Wisdom Realm and above to come close to Mountain Rampart City. If you chase after her now, are you planning to sacrifice your life to clear the path for us? You should know that the Xingwu dynasty is pressuring the demonic beast king court. With just the Vajra ape tribe behind you, you won't be able to protect a beast king in the outer regions. Lin Yuan's voice slowly rang out. It was like a demon tempting humans to fall, but also like the sigh of a god. Coupled with the skill effect of the World Tyrant song, Lin Yuan's brainwashing ability was directly maxed out. Sure enough, after being pointed out by Lin Yuan, the killing intent in King Kong's eyes dissipated a little. He frowned and said, "Then tell me what we should do. Are we going to let Hua Sanyang leave, and then report to the Xingwu dynasty that we organized a large-scale demonic beast tide? If that's the case, none of us will be able to escape." That being said, King Kong no longer had any desire to chase after them. Demonic beasts were all realistic creatures. Although King Kong did not have any enmity with the other beast kings, their territories were relatively close to each other. Usually there would be some friction between them. At this time, King Kong naturally would not be stupid enough to exchange his life for the safety of the other beast kings. If they were going to die, they would die together. If you ask me, why don't we wait for Bai Lu and the others to catch up? Then we can take advantage of the situation and directly attack Mountain Rampart City. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flickered with a cold light, but his thoughts were exceptionally clear. He sneered and said, "You see, although Hua Sanyang is being chased by us, with Laishan and Blind Qin covering the rear, she definitely won't believe that I can kill the 2 top demon slayers in Mountain Rampart City. Therefore, she will definitely relax. At the very least, She won't release the signal when she just entered Mountain Rampart City's line of sight. If we are fast enough, we can directly break through Mountain Rampart City before Hua Sanyang can explain the situation. Are you crazy? King Kong's face immediately fell. As a border city that defended against the attacks of demonic beasts, Mountain Rampart City's fortifications had been reinforced many times. Especially after the three-eyed ape swept through Mountain Rampart City. The fortifications of Mountain Rampart City could definitely make the demonic beasts despair. Even if they could break through Mountain Rampart City's defenses and kill their way into the city, what was the difference between that and confessing? Since we're going to die anyway, do you have any other choice? Lin Yuan rolled his eyes and snappily said, since the new city lord of Mountain Rampart City took office, they have already started 2 wars against us. Including the one started by the Demon Slayers Association, it's already 3 times. Therefore, it's normal for Mountain Rampart City's defenses to be weak. If all these demon slayers died in the demonic beast forest, then wouldn't it be normal for ordinary demonic beast tides to break through Mountain Rampart City? At this point, Lin Yuan lowered his voice and said, besides, the Shimwu dynasty can't force the demonic beast imperial court without any evidence. After all, they are now in constant internal strife. If they provoke the beast lord, I'm afraid they won't even be able to protect their country, right? As long as we keep our hands clean, there won't be any problems. King Kong fell into deep thought. In a sense, he felt that the Black Snake's words made sense. After all, as long as they killed all these humans before they spread the news, the humans wouldn't have any evidence and naturally wouldn't be able to find trouble with them. However, the rationality in his heart kept reminding him that the Black Snake's words were fallacious. Although he couldn't find any rebuttal points, he was sure that the Black Snake was definitely fooling him. Anyway, I'm just saying. What to do is still up to you. Do you want to quietly wait for death, or do you want to go all out? Lin Yuan smiled and directly released his ultimate move. Chapter 180. Waiting for death. Or going all out? King Kong's expression kept changing. From time to time, it would raise its head to look at the smiling Lin Yuan. It vaguely had an illusion that this Black Snake didn't care about this matter being leaked. You guessed it right. I really don't care about this matter being leaked. Lin Yuan guessed King Kong's intention and directly pointed out its doubts. Don't forget that I'm not a member of a big clan in the Hengduan Mountains. I'm just a loner. However, I still have dragon blood in my body. If the Monster Beast Palace gives up on me, I still have the protection of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. I believe that the Shimwu dynasty in Linhai won't offend the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas, just because of a beast tide caused by a human provocation. What the fuck? King Kong was silent for a moment, and spat out a swear word that it had learned from the humans. It had never seen such a shameless existence like the Black Snake. It was clearly the Black Snake's own trouble. First, it forced them to help, but the matter became bigger and bigger. Now that trouble came knocking on their door, the Black Snake suddenly said that it could actually escape unscathed, directly throwing the mess to the Monster Kings who could have stayed out of it. At the same time, the Cold Pool Crane and Bai Lu also led the rest of the monster beasts to chase after them. The Black Snake smiled and pouted in the direction of Bai Lu. You see, I'm not the only one who thinks so. They brought all the monster beasts here because they were worried that I didn't kill all the humans, so they were prepared for the worst from the beginning to attack Mountain Blocking City. King Kong. It still felt that the Black Snake was fooling it, but it couldn't deny that what the Black Snake said was indeed reasonable. The Shimwu dynasty in Linhai couldn't defend the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. Otherwise, the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas wouldn't even need to take action. As long as they stirred up trouble in the coastal area, the income of the Shimwu dynasty would be reduced by more than half in a few years. At that time, even the border army might not be able to maintain. Therefore, as long as the demonic beast imperial court was willing to give an explanation, such as the King Kong, the Cold Pool Crane, and the dozen or so beast kings without any background, like the White Deer who had a large clan behind them, and the Black Snake who had a dragon bloodline, there was no need to hand them over. After all, the Shimwu dynasty only wanted to save face. If the other side really insisted on not letting go, the black snake could just abolish the contract signed between the three-eyed ape and the mountain-blocking city. Then, the Shimwu dynasty would naturally relent. However, whether or not the contract was broken was only a verbal agreement. The fact that the Demon Slayer Guild dared to openly organize an army to enter the Hungduan Mountains to hunt down the black snake meant that they didn't care about the contract at all. Especially after the death of the three-eyed ape, the Stoneclaw Forest was no longer a threat to humans. King Kong's face fell as he conveyed what the black snake had told him to the other beast kings. Instantly, the dozen or so beast kings' faces became unsettled. After all, no one was willing to hand their heads over to fate. Moreover, there were similar examples. The demonic beast imperial court might not protect them. Just as the black snake said, with its background, the Shimwu dynasty didn't have any deep enmity with it. As long as the black snake was willing to give face to the Shimwu dynasty, they wouldn't touch the black snake. As for the matter of killing the human experts, the deaths of Lai Shan and Blind Qin already proved that the black snake had tried its best. If it were them, they might not even have the confidence to keep Lai Shan and Blind Qin alive. They might even be killed by the two experts instead. Therefore, they had no excuse to blame the black snake. Attacking the mountain-blocking city had become their only choice. Trash. The cold pool crane coldly snorted, and once again interjected with a strange tone. Lin Yuan shook his huge snake head and said coldly, "Yes, I'm a good-for-nothing. I traveled 2,000 miles alone to intercept and kill 3 top powerhouses of the Demon Slayers, but I only managed to kill 2 of them. I'm really not as good as a beast king who watched the show from the back." Who watched the show? The cold pool crane's face instantly turned red after being rebuked by Lin Yuan's strange tone. All the demonic beasts had contributed greatly in this battle. Even the weaker beast kings had participated in the assault on the human camp. The white deer had paid the price of its own weakness to strengthen the black serpent's condition. Although the black serpent hadn't fully exerted itself, it hadn't disappointed the demonic beasts. It had killed 2 of the 3 top-notch experts. Even Blind Qin, who had killed a beast king close to the Mountain Lord realm, had died at its hands. In comparison, the cold pool crane didn't have to watch the show from the back. However, in this war, it didn't have any achievements to show. Even the defensive barrier of the human camp was broken by King Kong. It only killed a few demon slayers while it was at it. If you didn't watch the show, you should prove yourself later. Lin Yuan added another stab with a smile that wasn't a smile. "TSK, we have to attack Mountain Blocking City anyway. This king will be the vanguard." The cold pool crane stared at Lin Yuan with red eyes. It looked like it wanted to kill this black snake with its gaze. In its superior state, it didn't even think and directly agreed. After the cold pool crane finished speaking, all the beast kings fell silent. They all looked at it as if it was an idiot. Previously, because of the purple-eyed youth, the human camp didn't have enough supplies. Therefore, the demon slayers could only activate the basic defensive barrier to survive. They didn't have any combat weapons to fight against the beast tide. However, Mountain Blocking City was different. Everyone knew that the first person to charge at Mountain Blocking City wouldn't have a good ending. Therefore, even though the beast kings knew that they had to attack Mountain Blocking City, none of them opened their mouths to take on the task of being the vanguard. I'm not. The cold pool crane knew that it had misspoken and immediately wanted to make up for it. Then it's decided. Let's see the cold pool crane king show your prowess later. As the cold pool crane's enemy, Bai Lu decisively stood on Lin Yuan's side after discovering Lin Yuan's potential. When the other beast kings saw Bai Lu's attitude, they were naturally willing to see the cold pool crane take on this unlucky task. Therefore, they all started to flatter the cold pool crane. If they didn't forcefully push the blame onto the cold pool crane, who would know who would take on this unlucky task when the cold pool crane casually brushed it off? Bai Lu was weak. Black Snake was heavily injured. Vadra battle achievements. It couldn't be these 3, right? You. Very good. Little Black Snake, just you wait for this king. The cold pool crane's eyes flashed with a murderous glint as it said coldly, "You better hope that this king dies in battle. Otherwise, when this king is done with the humans, you will be the first to be sacrificed to the heavens. When that time comes, we'll see who can save you. Chapter 181. 3 days later. The horde of beasts approached the area where Zhaban City was located. Along the way, the system in Lin Yuan's mind kept refreshing the information about the appearance of wild beasts. However, how could the cultivators who lived in a border city like Zhaban City be fools? When the human cultivators saw such a large scale of the beast horde, they would not have any thoughts of provoking them. They retreated in the direction of Zhaban City without looking back. After all, if they left too late and the gates of Zhaban City were closed, the cultivators who were trapped outside the city would be the first wave of cannon fodder to fight against the monsters. Something's not right. Bai Lu narrowed his eyes slightly and said doubtfully, if Hua Sanyang has already fled back to Zhaban City, there shouldn't be any idle human cultivators moving around outside the city. Moreover, Zhaban City doesn't seem to have made any preparations. It's as if they don't know that we're going to attack Zhaban City. King Kong thumped his chest and sneered, saying, these humans have been suppressing us monsters in the Hengduan Mountains for hundreds of years. I guess they didn't expect that we would dare to attack Zhaban City. At this point, King Kong's eyes narrowed as killing intent bloomed in an instant. He growled, these humans don't take us seriously at all. As more and more cultivators fled back to Zhaban City, the news of the beast horde naturally spread like wildfire. At this moment, Zhaban City did not hesitate at all, and immediately activated the defensive formation. From afar, it looked like a light blue bubble had wrapped Zhaban City in the middle. Further away, a group of 13 riders rode their horses over. The knight in the lead pulled on the reins and forcefully stopped the horse with his brute strength. He slowly raised the thick lance in his hand and coldly looked at the aggressive tide of beasts. He roared in a low voice, all of you stop right there. How dare you openly violate the treaty signed between the Hengduan Mountains and the 7 dynasties, and invade the territory of the human race. This man is called Luo Tianqi, the commander of Zhaban City's Guard Corps. He's at level 8 of the airborne realm. It's said that he was promoted by the previous city lord of Zhaban City. The city lord has changed for 2 generations, yet he still holds the military power of Zhaban City. He's an amazing person. Bai Lu came to Black Snake's side. He seemed to be afraid that Black Snake did not know the leader of the riders, so he explained. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flickered with a faint light. A new emperor brings his own ministers. This saying was not only applicable to the court where civil and military officials stood. Even the local city lords would not be willing to let people who were not on the same side as them control the great power under their jurisdiction. Since Luo Tianqi was able to hold the military power of Mountain Blocking City, even after the previous city lord stepped down, he either had a powerful force supporting him from behind, or he had the lifeline of the city lord of Mountain Blocking City in his hands. Therefore, this so-called Mountain Blocking City Guard Corps had most likely been cultivated by Luo Tianqi into his own private army. In the future, even if the purple-eyed youth were to rebuild Zhongshan City, he would not be able to directly control the military. If Luo Tianqi did not die, he would become a huge obstacle. His eyes were filled with killing intent, and he had no intention of hiding it. What's the point of talking nonsense with him? We can't just let him finish his sentence and leave, right? Lin Yuan sneered and said indifferently, once we destroy Zhongshan City, the humans will have no evidence. The monster beast imperial court will naturally protect us. But if things have reached this stage and you retreat, you will not only lose face, but all the monsters in the Hengduan mountain range will not be able to raise their heads. At that time, even without the 7 great empires saying anything, the monster beast emperor will probably deal with us internally. Kill. After hearing Lin Yuan's words, King Kong decisively launched the bugle of charge. Now that things had come to this point, they really had no way out. So it didn't matter whether the Black Snake was bluffing them or not. Nay, the charge launched by more than 100,000 demon beasts was not something that the ordinary bloodline warhorses under the command of Luo Tianqi and the other knights could ignore. With this momentum, even the azure-maned Horse King had to kneel down. Without any buffer, coupled with the fact that their mounts were frightened, this battle was obviously not something that the riders could fight. Once they were bitten by the monsters, they would not be able to escape death. Retreat. Luo Tianqi's face was gloomy as he stabbed the lance in his hand into the ground. Rumble. In an instant, the soil in front of Luo Tianqi began to squirm as if it had a life of its own, and soon formed an earthen wall. The demon beasts that had just rushed out were blocked by this earthen wall, before they could come into contact with Luo Tianqi and his subordinates. Die. King Kong's muscles shone with a metallic luster. With a shoulder strike, he broke the earthen wall and smashed two unlucky riders who fell down due to their horses being frightened into meat paste. Once again, he chased after the monsters with large strides. The rest of the demonic beasts roared and chased after King Kong through the gap. Boom, boom, boom. Before he could run far, a series of loud noises exploded in his ears. More than 100,000 demon beasts might seem frightening, but there were simply too many of them. Furthermore, they were standing close together. The cannons on the city walls of Mountain Blocking City were not just for decoration. Seeing that Luo Tianqi failed to negotiate with the demon beasts, they immediately opened fire. In just a breath's time, thousands of demonic beasts had been blasted to pieces by the cannon fire. However, the bloody stench did not frighten the demonic beasts. Instead, they became even more bloodthirsty. Their eyes were bloodshot as they continued to charge towards Mountain's Rampart City. After all, even the Beast King had an invisible blade placed on his neck. What more these demonic beasts? Today they would either kill all the humans in Mountain Rampart City. Otherwise, they would have to return to the Hengduan Mountains to await their deaths. In the name of the ancestors, I bestow upon you courage and strength. Bai Lu chanted softly beside Lin Yuan as a layer of white light flashed from his body. Ing. Host has received a status enhancement. Attack power increased by 5%. Ding. Host has received a status enhancement. Courage increased. Although Lin Yuan did not know what a courage increase was, after receiving the status enhancement from Bai Lu's family, Lin Yuan no longer felt the slightest bit of fear as he looked at the roaring cannons. All monsters, use your long-range skills to cover Mountain Rampart City's defensive barrier and break this turtle shell as quickly as possible. The cold pool crane, who was leading the charge, roared. As it flapped its wings, countless black feathers formed from demonic energy whistled towards the blue defensive barrier like steel blades. The other monsters followed suit and used their long-range attacks to attack Mountain Rampart City. In an instant, the might of their attacks was not much weaker than the cannons of Mountain Rampart City. You're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.